The delicate little sister, the abstinent uncle coaxes her every day. Ning was very afraid of the young uncle of the Gu family. When he went crazy, no one could stop him. But he was also her benefactor who had raised her for 12 years and was her only support and reliance in this world. Uncle Gu was very strict with her. He didn't allow her to drink, smoke, skip school, or fall in love. Chapter 1 His back. Let me go. Ning struggled hard. She was having a great time drinking with a little brother in the bar, but on their way to the toilet, several men of unknown origin suddenly broke in and captured her alive. Ning punched and kicked the people who captured her. How dare you capture me? Do you know who I am? It doesn't matter if you don't know. You should know Gu Jiin, right? The Gu Jiin in Kyoto. Let me go quickly, or I will tell Gu Jiin and make you lose the qualification to be a man. Gu Jiin is a godlike existence in the Beijing circle. He controls the business and political circles and covers the sky with one hand. His name is well known and everyone is afraid of him. However, Ning shouted all the way, but no one paid attention to her. They were not scared by her at all. The man carried Ning out of the bar quickly and came to a black car. Master Gu, the person is here. What? Master Gu? She must have heard it right. There is only one person named Gu Yi in Beijing. She popped her head up and looked. The car was dark and gloomy. A hand was on the windowsill, with protruding wrist bones and long and slender knuckles. It was holding a half-smoked cigarette, which was burning slowly under the pale moonlight. Gudong. Ning swallowed. Such a cold and sexy hand must belong to a noble and handsome man. Bring it up. A cold voice sounded. Before Ning could figure out the situation, she was forced into the car, and then with a bang, the door was slammed. Can't you be gentler? So rough. She rubbed her arm with a curse, and saw the person sitting next to her out of the corner of her eye. The man's face was buried in the shadow, and Ning couldn't see his appearance clearly, but the pair of long legs under the light made people imagine. Ning wanted to see his true face, but before she got close, a chill hit her in the face. Wow, He Fang's aura is so strong, just like Gu Jiin. She has never been afraid of anyone in Beijing. She wants to see what kind of cow and horse he is. She boldly approached and took a look at the man. This look scared her so much that she almost lost half her soul and bounced up and pressed her back against the door. Oh my god. Ghost. How come he has a face exactly like Gu Jiin? Ning was so scared that she turned her head and broke the door handle. The car door opened, and she hurried to get out of the car. A hand suddenly grabbed her collar and pulled her back. Hey! Ning fell back and hit a chest. With a chuckle, the man's face moved out of the shadows. The perfect and beautiful face was like a knife in the dim light. He lowered his head and leaned close to Ning's ear, his low and hoarse voice with a shallow smile. Are you still so afraid of me? It's really him. Shouldn't he be in France? The hot air made Ning numb all over, and she was frightened and stuttered, Gu. Gu Jiin, why are you back? Almost no one in Beijing knew that many years ago, Gu Jiin adopted a little girl. When she was 7 years old, Gu Jiin took her from the slums to the Gu family to give blood transfusions to Grandpa Gu. Later, she was harmed and her family was destroyed. Seeing her pity, Gu Jiin tacitly allowed her to live in the Gu family. She stayed in the Gu family for 12 years. Gu Jiin treated her very well. He never let her do dirty work. When she was young, he taught her to read and write. Now he is getting busier and busier, so he left her to the housekeeper to take care of her. The only bad thing is that Gu Jiin is too strict with her. She is not allowed to skip classes, drink, go to bars. She is not allowed to wear heavy makeup, dye her hair, paint her nails, wear bright and revealing clothes, and even suspenders. She must go home before 10 o'clock, and must report to him who she goes out with. Even dating is controlled. But now, except for the last one, she has done everything. While he was abroad, she was letting herself go. Why didn't anyone inform her that Gu Jiin would come back tonight? He was dusty and looked like he had just got off the plane to catch her. Damn it, what should I do now? If I don't come back, the sky in Beijing will be overturned by you. The man picked her up and held her lightly on his legs, lifting her chin with his bony hands. Heavy makeup covered her originally innocent face. Her cheeks were red because of drinking. There were 2 large silver rings on her ears. Her nails were red and long like a female ghost. But her skirt was very short, revealing a large area of snow-white back muscles. She smelled of alcohol. Ji Yujin's dark pupils were filled with rage, but there was a smile on his lips. Look at Ning Ning's outfit. Are you planning to get drunk in the bar? His voice was hoarse because of restraint. His big hands slid onto the exposed skin of her thighs. His fingers lifted the edge of her skirt intentionally or unintentionally. Do you know the consequences? Mu Ning shuddered. No, Uncle Ji, please listen to my explanation. Mu Ning began to blame others at length, and as she explained, she choked up in a pretentious manner. I'm sorry. Uncle Ji, I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone to the bar to drink and played so late, but I really only went there to drink. Ji Yujin listened patiently, but his hand tore off his tie and quickly wrapped around her wrist, casually tying a beautiful bow. Who told you to drink? What did I tell you before you left? Ning Ning is so strong now, dare not listen to me, huh? It would have been fine if she didn't mention this, but Mu Ning suddenly exploded as soon as she mentioned it. How dare you say that? You've been gone for more than half a year, and I don't even know if you're dead or alive. I thought you weren't coming back. Now you suddenly show up. Why do you care about me? Who wouldn't be able to take the initiative? Ji Yujin looked at her anger calmly, and snorted. Ning Ning is so resentful? Then I won't leave this time. What? Not leaving? Wouldn't her free and happy days be over? No. She was no longer angry, grinning. Uncle Ji, I was just complaining just now. My thoughts are not that important. Your work is more important. Ji Yujin pondered for a moment, and suddenly said, I heard from Song Heng that you were dancing on the dance floor with a man tonight. Is Ning Ning in love? Mu Ning paused, shook her head guiltily. Uncle Ji, you know that I have been single for 19 years. Song Heng must have made a mistake. It's definitely not me. Heh. Ji Yujin curled his lips sarcastically and grabbed her chin. Ning Ning refuses to tell the truth. Aren't you afraid that I will kill that little beast? Mu Ning was scared. What do you want to do? The smile in his eyes was cold and fierce, and Mu Ning was very scared. But she couldn't resist at all, and was carried out of the car by Ji Yujin. The heat wave rolled in the bar, and suddenly a group of bodyguards rushed in, blocking the entire hall. The music stopped abruptly. Before everyone could figure out what was going on, a tall and straight man slowly walked out. The man was tall and had long legs, standing out from the crowd. He was wearing a dark coat with a suit of the same color underneath. He was holding a girl in a black skirt in one hand. The girl sat in his arms, like a petite canary. Chapter 2. His fingers rubbed her lips. He sat down in a clean booth, put Mu Ning on his lap, and scratched her little nose, who drank with Ning Ning. Mu Ning pursed her lips nervously. You won't tell me. The man raised his eyes indifferently, then smashed them all. There was a commotion, and the bodyguard immediately took action. No. Mu Ning grabbed his hand in panic. I'm sorry, Uncle Ji, I know I was wrong, I really know I was wrong, I will never dare to do it again. Ji Yujin raised his hand to stop, looked at her wet eyes, and hooked his thin lips. Sure enough, she was still scared. He emphasized his tone. I'll ask again, who drank with our Ning Ning? Mu Ning stuttered. I drank too much and forgot. Ji Yujin smiled kindly and touched her head lovingly. Well, don't blame Ning Ning. The next second, he directly asked someone to grab the manager. Master Ji, Master Ji. A thin man stood trembling in front of Ji Yujin. What do you want? I want someone. The manager understood what Ji Yujin meant and immediately asked someone to find the cowboy who was drinking with Mu Ning tonight. After searching for a while, he got this answer. Master Ji, I asked someone, he is not my subordinate, he seems to be a guest who came to play. Ji Yujin had no expression on his face. I just want someone. If you can't find someone, you will die for him, understand? The manager was so scared that he trembled all over, and immediately smiled and said, Master Ji, where can I find someone for you in this vast sea of people? You are making things difficult for me. Ji Yujin also smiled. Is that so? His eyes suddenly turned cold. Song Heng, take him away. The manager was so scared that his legs softened and he sat directly on the ground. Song Heng dragged him out coldly. He struggled and cried loudly, help. Master Ji, please show mercy, Master Ji. Stop it. Mu Ning shouted hurriedly, looking at the manager who was kneeling on the ground begging for mercy. This is something I should bear alone. What did the manager do wrong? Why do you treat an irrelevant person like this? He shouldn't let you into the bar. When Ji Yujin looked at Mu Ning, his anger had been restrained, and a gentle smile appeared on his lips. As long as Ning finds that boy, I will let him go. This was threatening her. Mu Ning got off his legs and stood in front of him honestly like a child who had done something wrong. Uncle Jiu, I just had a few drinks with other boys. I didn't do anything else. Let's go home, okay? Just a few drinks. The surveillance camera caught his hand touching you. Ji Yujin pulled her in front of him, his breath cold. Where did he touch? Ho! On their way from the airport, Ji Yujin had already watched the surveillance video of the bar. His driver and assistant didn't dare to breathe all their way. No, he didn't touch anywhere. Ning has learned to lie to me. Mu Ning's sophistry made him even more angry. Uncle Jiu. Mu Ning's face turned pale with fear. Do you know how angry I am when I saw you hugging that little beast? Mu Ning couldn't help trembling. His cold fingertips rubbed her soft lips, and his eyes were a little scarlet. Mu Ning looked into his eyes and didn't dare to speak. Suddenly, the big hand slid behind her ear. He pinched her delicate neck and pulled her in front of him. He raised his chin slightly, and put his thin lips against her ear. It seems that you didn't remember a single word of my admonition to you. Every word seemed to be quenched by ice. Mu Ning shuddered with horror. She was drunk at the time, and was in a daze, so their boy took her to the dance floor. They did jump on the dance floor, but they didn't do anything excessive. But Ji Yujin never allowed her to have contact with the opposite sex since she was a child, let alone physical contact. It's not allowed for a boy who has a crush on her to secretly hold her hand. If he finds out, the consequences will be very serious. The boy tonight is from her school, and she can't confess, otherwise, based on her understanding of Ji Yujin, the boy will end up miserably. Mu Ning broke free from his hand. Uncle Jiu, I'm already 19 years old, can you please stop interfering with me in everything? Not interfering with you. Ji Yujin's eyes suddenly darkened. He reached out to pull her back, and held her waist with his big hands. Say it again. Mu Ning felt a chill on her spine. She took a deep breath and said with a stiff upper lip, legally speaking, the guardian's control ended when I was 18 years old. I am an adult. It is my freedom to drink with any boy. Others have several boyfriends at the age of 18. Ji Yujin stood up suddenly, and his tall figure directly pressed over Mu Ning's head. So Ning wants to have a boyfriend, right? Mu Ning saw the expression on his face and took a step back in fear. Uncle Jiu, eh? Ji Yujin suddenly pinched her chin. You are not allowed to have a boyfriend before the age of 20. Have you forgotten the rules I set for you? He lowered his eyes and stared at her panicked expression. I will find that boy, and then don't let me hear you begging for him again. Mu Ning pursed her lips and wanted to say something, but Ji Yujin let go of her and walked away. His whole body seemed to be shrouded in darkness, and there was a cold wind wherever he passed. Let him go. The manager was as if he had been pardoned. Thank you, Master Jiu. Ji Yujin walked away without looking back. The pressure on her body disappeared, and Mu Ning's shoulders relaxed. The manager quickly came up to her. Ms. Mu, thank you for saving me. I owe you a favor this time. Next time you come to play, don't order a little brother. Call your little sisters and I will treat you to free drinks. Mu Ning glared at the manager. Why are you talking about something? Aren't you afraid that Ji Yujin will demolish your store? If he demolishes it, I will ask him for compensation. It just so happens that my store needs to be renovated. The manager pushed Mu Ning with a gloating look. Don't worry, little ancestor, Master Jiu is jealous, just go and coax him. Jealous? What nonsense, he just thinks that I didn't listen to him and challenged his authority. Ji Yujin has a strong desire for control and does not allow others to contradict him. Mu Ning looked at the tall figure that was about to disappear, paused in place, bit his lip and followed. As soon as Mu Ning left the bar, he saw Ji Yujin get in the car. I thought Ji Yujin would leave her alone, but the Bentley was parked on the side of the road and didn't start. She walked over slowly, pulled the car door, and found it was locked. Mu Ning stood outside the car door awkwardly. At this time, Song Heng came over. Song Heng, can you open the car door? Ji Yujin locked himself in. He was angry and it was like this. I couldn't explain it to him. She scratched her hair in annoyance. Song Heng was Ji Yujin's personal bodyguard and secretary. Wherever Ji Yujin was, he was there. Song Heng tried the car key to no avail. He knocked on the car window, but there was no response. Mu Ning couldn't help complaining, I got angry after talking back to him. Song Heng, don't you think he's too petty? He didn't let me get in the car, and he locked you out too. Song Heng glanced at her. Although the car windows are soundproof, Miss Mu should say less. Mr. Gu came directly after getting off the plane to see you tonight. He even postponed the dinner and hasn't eaten yet. Mu Ning curled her lips. He didn't come to see her. He was obviously here to punish her, right? She shut her mouth and waited quietly for the people in the car to calm down. As a result, she stood on the roadside for half an hour. Mu Ning was only wearing a thin skirt. When the night wind blew, she shivered with cold. If she wasn't allowed to get in the car, could she just wait here and freeze to death? She would take a taxi home by herself. Mu Ning turned around and walked away angrily. Try to take a step forward. A cold voice sounded behind her. Chapter 3. Ji Yujin held her waist and smiled strangely. Mu Ning's back stiffened. She turned her head. The window of the back seat was opened, and Ji Yujin sat by the window, staring at her with gloomy eyes. Mu Ning's heart trembled slightly. It was rare to see Ji Yujin's gentle face so cold. She walked over and said aggrievedly, Uncle Ji, you finally pay attention to me. My legs hurt from standing. Ji Yujin looked at her red face, didn't say anything, took a cigarette from the cigarette box and put it in his mouth, then touched his pocket and frowned slightly. Song Heng. Song Heng took out a lighter. Seeing this, Mu Ning immediately snatched Song Heng's lighter and walked forward with his back bent. Uncle Ji, let me light it for you. Ji Yujin glanced at her. The wind blew her black hair into a mess. She blew her nose and blocked the fire with her hands. The firelight reflected in her watery eyes, pitiful and very distressing. He finally turned his head slightly. Mu Ning hurriedly lit a cigarette for him. Seeing the cigarette but flickering with sparks, she smiled and said, Uncle Ji, can you let me go up? It's really cold outside. What if I get frozen? Ji Yujin exhaled smoke and snorted, if you get frozen, I won't need you anymore. Although the words sounded cold, the next second, the car door clicked and unlocked. Mu Ning knew that this trick was the most effective. She threw the lighter to Song Heng and got in the car quickly. After getting in the car, Mu Ning sneezed a few times. A blanket was draped over her face. Wrap it up. If you dare to get sick, I'll throw you out. Mu Ning pulled off the blanket and looked at him in surprise. Ji Yujin looked away, put out the half-smoked cigarette, closed the car window, leaned against the seat, and closed his eyes in annoyance. She hugged the blanket full of Ji Yujin's scent, and a warmth passed into her body. The car stopped in front of a European-style villa. After getting off the car, Mu Ning lowered her head and followed the man closely. Suddenly, there was a small bang and she hit his strong back. She covered her forehead with her teeth bared. What are you doing? Ji Yujin turned around and smiled at her coldly. Ning is so smart. While I was not at home, she actually changed the door locks. Oh, she forgot about it. This house belongs to Ji Yujin, and the original password is Mu Ning's birthday. Ji Yujin often goes on business trips, sometimes for more than half a year. He was afraid that Mu Ning would do something wrong at home alone, so he left a housekeeper to supervise her and take care of her daily life. The housekeeper went back to his hometown tonight, and Mu Ning went to the bar with Lu Shinting. In order to prevent a surprise attack, she changed the door lock. Mu Ning smiled and said, I don't know what happened today. The door lock broke, so I changed it to a new one. The door lock has been used for more than 10 years and has not broken, but it broke today. Ji Yujin pulled her in front of him with a chilling smile on his face. Ning is afraid that I will come back suddenly and find that you have hidden a man at home. Uncle Ji thinks too much. Let alone men, there will be no other male in this house except you. Mosquitoes must be female. Worried that Ji Yujin would not give up, she hurried forward to unlock it with her fingerprint. Opened the door, it was pitch black inside. But Mu Ning seemed to hear something. Suddenly, a click. Mu Ning was so scared that she quickly hugged Ji Yujin. Uncle Ji, there is a ghost. Ji Yujin frowned. he also heard the sound. Is there a thief in the house? He turned on the light, and the villa was suddenly bright. Hum. There was a sudden gasp on the sofa, and they looked over together. Mu Ning covered her eyes with a R. Who can tell her why there is a naked man running in her house? Is this what you said, there will be no second man? Ji Yujin pulled Mu Ning off him. Mu Ning was confused, she didn't know what was going on. Ning, you are back. The boy called her ambiguously. Mu Ning paused, let go and looked over, almost scared to death. Yang Fan? Why is it him? Isn't this the boy who drank with her tonight and went to the dance floor with her? He is Lin Chichi's recent gossip object. When they met at the bar tonight, Lin Chichi took Yang Fan's arm and taunted Mu Ning, saying that she was a single dog and that no one loved her, so she came to the bar to seek excitement out of loneliness. She also asked someone to throw popcorn on her face, which made everyone laugh. Could she let Lin Chichi be so arrogant? She deliberately asked Yang Fan to drink with her, and brought Yang Fan to their table in front of Lin Chichi. But why did Yang Fan appear in her house? How did he get in? It was so weird. At this time, Yang Fan was lying on the sofa with his legs spread out, his hairy feet hooked on the coffee table, and he looked so happy, as if he was at home. The point is, he was wearing Ji Yujin's pajamas, smoking Ji Yujin's cigarettes, and drinking the red wine that Ji Yujin had collected for many years. Old Swan, is this going to kill her? It was so hard to coax Ji Yujin, but now it's over. Mu Ning raised her head in panic, and sure enough, Ji Yujin's handsome face was gloomy and scary, as if he was about to explode. Oh, let me make it clear first, I don't know him. Mu Ning raised her hand and swore, and quickly distanced herself from him. If Ji Yujin knew that they were related, she and Yang Fan would be finished tonight. But Yang Fan kept saying Ning, Ji Yujin was not deaf. Ji Yujin suppressed his gloomy eyebrows and raised his feet to go over. Mu Ning quickly grabbed him, blinked, and said sincerely, Uncle Ji, please believe me, I don't know where this pervert came from, fortunately you are here, otherwise I'm afraid I will be. Before she finished speaking, Yang Fan's dirty words came out, Ning, I miss you so much Tilda, I've been waiting for you for a long time, why are you back now? Mu Ning's legs softened and she almost knelt down. Ji Yujin reached out and grabbed her, tied her limp waist, and raised his thin lips in a dangerous arc. No wonder Ning changed the lock. It turns out that she had such a big surprise for me at home to welcome me. No, Ji Yujin, listen to me, Ning, why don't you come over? I can't wait Tilda. Yang Fan stood up and staggered towards Mu Ning. Mu Ning was so anxious that she almost cursed her mother. She wanted to cry but had no tears and pulled Ji Yujin, Uncle Ji, let's call the police quickly. If this pervert gets drunk, I'm afraid he will hurt you. Yang Fan had already walked up to Mu Ning. He was drunk and raised his hand to take Mu Ning into his arms. Before he touched Mu Ning, a cold big hand pinched his wrist hard. Yang Fan's face turned pale immediately. Let go. My hand is going to break. Ji Yujin shook Yang Fan off, and he staggered back. Yang Fan then noticed the man behind Mu Ning and yelled angrily, where did you come from? Ji Yujin glared at Yang Fan, where did you come from? You dare to call me trash? You? Shut up, Yang Fan. Mu Ning stared at Yang Fan and deliberately shouted, why are you crazy? What right do you have to point fingers at him? Please get out of my house right now. She just hoped that Yang Fan would listen to the advice and leave immediately. Ji Yujin was really scary when he got angry. Yang Fan's eyes immediately turned red after being yelled at. He pointed at Ji Yujin in disbelief. Ning, you actually drove me away for such a wild man. Didn't you say you had a crush on me for many years? Mu Ning was confused and couldn't explain clearly. No, what does this have to do with you coming to my house for no reason? I'm inexplicable. Mu Ning, are you kidding me? Didn't we agree to come to your house for essential oil massage tonight? But you suddenly said you were going to the bathroom, and you disappeared when you were there. I looked for you in the bar for a long time, and everyone left, so I had to come to your house to find you. I didn't expect you to cheat on her. Yang Fan yelled at the top of his lungs, and the whole villa was filled with his voice. Mu Ning's heart sank. Fucking essential oil massage. Fucking cheating on her. She just said some ambiguous words to Yang Fan to irritate Lin Chichi. But she only dared to talk nonsense. Who knew Yang Fan would take it seriously and come running to her house? This idiot, didn't he know Jiu Jin was looking for him? He even took the initiative to send himself to her door. What should she do now? Now she and Yang Fan are both doomed. Heh. A sneer suddenly came from behind. Chapter 4. She is like a ripe peach. Mu Ning trembled and quickly stopped Jiu Jin, who was about to attack. It's a misunderstanding, Uncle Jiu, don't listen to his nonsense. Jiu Jin raised his hand and pushed Mu Ning away. I was wondering why I couldn't find the little bastard who was drinking with Ning tonight. He stared at Yang Fan, his face full of chilling gloom. So you're at my house? What do you mean you're home? Do you have any shame? This is Ning's home, and it will be my home in the future. The young man was very confident. Although he was a head shorter than Jiu Jin, he was full of confidence. Your house? Jiu Jin sneered and glanced at Mu Ning. It seems that if I don't come back, the house will become someone else's. Mu Ning seemed to be strangled by an invisible hand, and winked at Yang Fan frantically. Don't try to kill yourself here, go home quickly. Yang Fan still provoked Jiu Jin without knowing the consequences. You look old, right? You are so old, and you still want to eat young grass. I'm telling you, Ning has no chance of liking someone like you. I advise you to have some self-awareness and quit as soon as possible. Yang Fan, please stop talking, okay? Mu Ning lowered his head and tugged at Yang Fan's sleeve desperately. Let's go back, okay? We can talk about it tomorrow if there's anything. Ning, don't be afraid. I'm not afraid of him. I will protect you. Yang Fan took out a golf club from the golf bucket and pointed it at Jiu Jin. Hurry up and give Ning back to me, or don't blame me for being rude to you. No, Yang Fan, put the club down. Mu Ning was so scared that his heart almost jumped out of his throat. He shouted hurriedly, he is my uncle, this house is his, you can't disrespect him like this. What? Yang Fan was shocked and dazed for a long time. He tugged at his silk nightgown and asked, so this dress is his too? The thinking patterns of drunk people are very strange. Not only are the clothes his, but the cigarettes you smoke, the wine you drink, and the golf clubs you hold, everything here is his. If he wants you to get out, it only takes one sentence. Yang Fan was frightened and was stunned for 3 seconds. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier? He put down the golf club and said, Uncle, we are one family. Don't be angry. I am Mu Ning's boyfriend. We will be a family in the future. Boyfriend? A family. Oh. Yang Fan didn't notice Jiu Jin's expression at all, and held his hand in a familiar manner. Since you're back today, I won't bother you for now. I'll treat you to dinner another day. Mu Ning wanted to cover his face in embarrassment. Uncle Jiu, he is drunk, I will let him go back first, I will explain to you later. Mu Ning wanted to pull Yang Fan's hand out, but found that Yang Fan's hand was held by Jiu Jin and he couldn't pull it out at all. Do you like Ning? Jiu Jin stared at Yang Fan. Yang Fan nodded solemnly. I hope you agree that we can be together. Ning was raised by me, you want to be her boyfriend. Jiu Jin paused for a moment, then curled his lips strangely. Should I kneel down and kowtow to me? As soon as the words fell, the air around them froze. What? Before Yang Fan could react, Jiu Jin kicked him hard in the knee. Yang Fan bent his body and with a thump, he knelt straight on the ground. Mu Ning widened his eyes. Uncle Jiu. Yang Fan struggled to get up, but Jiu Jin pushed him to the ground and sneered. Is this the man Ning protects? Oh, he's not really a man. Yang Fan screamed repeatedly. Jiu Jin raised his dark eyes and looked at Mu Ning. How do you want him to die? Ning, help him choose one. Mu Ning looked at this powerful and terrifying man and opened his mouth in silence. With a plop, Yang Fan was thrown into the swimming pool. Yang Fan choked on the water several times and struggled desperately in the water. As soon as he showed his head, he was pinned down by the bodyguards. Jiu Jin stood by the pool smoking, looking expressionlessly at Yang Fan in the pool, and ordered Song Hang, call a few strong men over to serve him well. Yes. Mu Ning stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window on the second floor, watching several men press Yang Fan into the water. Suddenly, Jiu Jin turned around and his eyes met Mu Ning. Mu Ning shrank his shoulders and quickly drew the curtains. She returned to her room and paced back and forth. Jiu Jin won't let Yang Fan go, but will he let her go? She simply lifted the quilt, crawled into bed and pretended to sleep. Not long after, the door of the room was opened. She turned her back to the door and closed her eyes tightly. She heard silence at the door, and then footsteps came in. Ji Eugene stood by her bed for a while, bent down, straightened up Mu Ning, covered her with a quilt, turned on the air conditioner, and then went out. Weird. Ji Eugene just let her go. That's not like him at all. Mu Ning threw back the quilt, got up and turned on the bedside lamp. As the light filled the room, she screamed, "R!" She looked at Ji Eugene, who was standing at the door with horror. In the dim light, his face looked frighteningly dark. Mu Ning trembled. "Ji, Uncle Ji, why haven't you left yet? I wonder how long you can pretend to sleep." Ji Eugene blocked the door with a gloomy face. "I'll give you 10 minutes to explain." "Uncle Ji, I'm sleepy. If there's anything, can we talk about it tomorrow?" "Okay." Ji Eugene strode to the bedside and picked her up. "Ning has a boyfriend, how come I don't know? Didn't I warn you not to fall in love before you were 20 years old?" After saying that, he pushed her down on the bed and lifted up her skirt. "Ji Eugene, what do you want to do?" Mu Ning was panicked. Before she could finish her words, she felt a pain in her buttocks and a dull pop sound, which made her eyes widen in shock. Ji Eugene, you. Pia. His little butt was slapped again. Mu Ning blushed and struggled in shame. "Ji Eugene, how dare you spank me? You are shameless. You. Her face flushed red, and the man pinched her neck, his voice hoarse. "Have you forgotten what we said in the bar? Mu Ning, I have tolerated you for a long time, let's settle the score for tonight." Mu Ning was so angry that he no longer cared about his image. He kicked his hands and feet and screamed. As far as she could remember, Ji Eugene had never been violent towards her. The only time she held hands with a boy when she was very young was when Ji Eugene slapped her hand hard, and she ignored him for a week because of that. However, she was pinned to the bed by the man and could not move. In the end, she could only cry and beg for mercy. "Uncle Ji, I know I was wrong, please stop hitting me, I really know I was wrong." Mu Ning's round little butt had been beaten red, and looked like a ripe peach under the light. Ji Eugene's palms felt slightly hot and his throat tightened. Chapter 5. She was so ashamed that she hid herself in the quilt. If this continues, something bad might happen. He let go of Mu Ning's skirt, turned her over, grabbed her chin, and glared at her angrily. "I have raised you up and put so much effort into it, yet you just give yourself away to a stinky boy who hasn't even fully grown his hair. How cheap do you think of yourself?" He was very angry and spoke in a harsh tone. Back then, at a celebrity gathering, an insider wanted to establish a relationship with Ji Eugene and introduce his son to Mu Ning. Ji Eugene held a cigarette in his mouth and sneered with disdain. "Who dares to become my relative? How can any Tom, Dick or Harry be worthy of my pampered girl?" She also said that she would marry Mu Ning to the best man in the capital in the future. "Ji Eugene, why do you humiliate me? You even spanked me. Because you are out of your mind. What are you worth? You belong to my Ji family, how can you be with a brat like that? And you even said you want to be a family with me, is he worthy?" Ji Eugene was a little out of control. Mu Ning blushed and yelled at him angrily. "He doesn't deserve it, but do you?" Ji Eugene was stunned. It was frozen for a long time. The anger in his eyes was instantly extinguished by these words. He stared at her flushed little face and ordered hoarsely, "Break up with him and never have any contact with him again. Otherwise, I will either tie you up or make him disappear from this world." After saying that, he raised his hand, wiped her tears, pulled up the quilt to wrap her tightly, stood up and left in a hurry. "Ji Eugene, you bastard!" Mu Ning covered himself with the quilt and cried in shame. How old is she now? How can he still spank her like he did when she was a child? He is shameless, so shameless. Mu Ning didn't sleep all night and went to school the next day with dark circles under his eyes. Mu Ning is a junior this year. Thanks to Ji Eugene's hard cultivation, she skipped 2 grades in elementary school and became the youngest student in her class. She studied architecture, but it is actually very hard for girls to study this and it is not easy to find a job. It was because Ji Eugene didn't let her choose this major at that time that she insisted on studying it. When she arrived at the classroom, she walked to Lu Shinting, threw down her bag and fell on the table. "What's wrong with Mu Ning? He looks listless, as if he's been taking opium." The study committee member in the front row turned around and asked with concern. Lu Shanting said while painting her nails, "I had an orgasm watching handsome guys at night." Oh. The study committee member wiped his sweat. Knowing that Lu Shanting was not serious, he did not take it seriously. Mu Ning sighed 3 times in a row. Lu Shanting came over and said, "You're sighing so much. Tell me, how was the battle between you and Yarn Fan last night? I'll catch up on some sleep first, and I'll tell you when I wake up." When Mu Ning woke up, everyone in the classroom had left. "Are you awake?" Mu Ning raised his face with the marks on it and saw Lu Shanting admiring her beautiful nails. "Tell me, did you capture Yarn Fan last night?" Mu Ning then told Lu Shanting the whole story. "What, Jiu Jin is back?" Lu Shanting's expression was a little stiff. "No wonder you suddenly disappeared in the bar last night. Jiu Jin didn't do anything to you, did he? She and Mu Ning have been best friends for many years and she knows how strict Jiu Jin is in disciplining Mu Ning. Moreover, she was also afraid of Jiu Jin. Every time Ning Ning got into trouble, Jiu Jin would first teach Ning Ning a lesson and then give her a good beating as well. Don't mention it. I don't know what's wrong with Yarn Fan. He actually ran to my house." "Wait." Mu Ning stared at Lu Shanting suspiciously. "How did Yarn Fan know where I live? I just changed the door yesterday, and only I know the password to the door. Could it be that you told him?" Lu Shanting's eyes dodged. "Didn't you say you were going to take care of Yarn Fan last night? But you went to the bathroom and didn't come back for a long time. Yarn Fan got anxious and said he wanted to go to your house to look for you. I was drunk at the time, so I gave you the password to your house. Who knew he would be so crazy and really go to your house?" Mu Ning glared at her. "I was wondering why he would show up in my house. It turns out you betrayed me." "Hey, don't be angry, I just drank too much." Lu Shanting quickly changed the subject. "You look so listless, come on, I'll take you to the cafe." Mu Ning and Lu Shanting put away their books and prepared to leave the classroom when a figure rushed out and blocked their way. Mu Ning. Before Mu Ning could see clearly who it was, the man raised his hand and hit her in the face. Lu Shanting quickly pulled Mu Ning back. The man missed and raised his hand to hit her, but Lu Shanting quickly grabbed her wrist. "Lin Shiqi, if you hit me again, I'll chop you into pieces." Lu Shanting pushed her away. Lin Shiqi staggered and stood up, staring at Mu Ning, her eyes almost smoldering with fire. "Mu Ning, you shameless bitch." Mu Ning frowned. "Lin Shiqi, what are you doing here? How dare you say I'm crazy? You took Yang Fan away in front of me at the bar last night, and I haven't settled the score with you yet." Mu Ning had a blank expression on his face. "Weren't you the one who humiliated me first?" "Humph, what's wrong with humiliating you? Don't you deserve to be humiliated by me? Who made you look so disgusting and disgusting?" Lin Shiqi is Mu Ning's nemesis at school, and the two have never gotten along. Recently there is a rumor that Lin Shiqi likes Yarn Fan. Yarn Fan is a genius in the department of architecture, so naturally he has many admirers. Lin Shiqi relies on the fact that she is the daughter of the Lin family to have the opportunity to ask Yarn Fan out. They met at the bar last night. Mu Ning was sitting in his seat just fine, but Lin Shiqi came up and humiliated him. In order to make Yarn Fan laugh, she even instigated people to pour popcorn on Mu Ning's head so that a group of people could laugh at her. "Oh, so what if I took Yarn Fan away? Don't you deserve to have your man taken away? Who told you that you are not as pretty as me?" Mu Ning returned the words to her verbatim. Lin Shiqi choked and snorted contemptuously. "Mu Ning, how dare you say such things? Do you really think that you are a fairy just because there are few people chasing after you? Har har, you are still a single dog that no one wants. You are 19 years old and have never been in a relationship. You actually say that you are prettier than me. Where do you get the confidence from?" Lin Shiqi crossed her arms. "Did those ugly suitors of yours make you feel superior? Huh, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself?" She leaned close to Mu Ning and whispered 2 words, "Country bitch." "Lin Shiqi, are you looking for death?" Lu Shanting wanted to slap them both in the face, but Mu Ning held her back. "Lin Shiqi, it's a waste of time to argue with you about this. Yarn Fan doesn't want you anyway." Mu Ning deliberately smacked his lips, seeming to be savoring last night's experience. "Yarn Fan has a good physique, but he's a little short and his endurance is not good. I'll take him to practice more later." "What? You guys got a room last night?" Lin Chichi's face changed immediately. Is that even a question? Bitch! How dare you sleep with the man I like? Believe it or not, I will kill you. Lin Chichi was so angry that she was shaking. If Lu Shinting hadn't stopped her, she would have probably come up and tore her apart. I advise you to pay attention to your image, Lin Chichi. There are many people coming and going here. Do you want them to see your upbringing like a shrew? Lin Chichi gnashed her teeth, her face gloomy as she stopped Mu Ning and said, just to remind you, Yang Fan didn't come to class today. Mu Ning raised his eyebrows, so you came to me for someone. Heh, judging from your expression, you probably don't know where he went. Lin Chichi sneered, didn't you sign up for the design competition? You should know that if he can't participate, your team will definitely not win the prize. After saying this, he walked away arrogantly. Mu Ning stood there in a daze. This design competition is hosted by Dagus University, and the team that wins the first prize will be eligible to compete for exchange student spots. But there is a rule that if a single person wins the competition, they will be directly admitted to Dagus University. Mu Ning wants to go abroad, but Jiyu Jiyin won't allow it. She must rely on this design competition to get a place as an exchange student. But the final completed work is with Yang Fan. Today is the deadline for submissions. Mu Ning called Yang Fan but couldn't get through, so he ran to Yang Fan's dormitory to look for him. His roommate said that he had not returned since last night. Yang Fan is missing. I'm afraid only one person knows his whereabouts. Jiyu Jiyin. Mu Ning felt a chill down his spine when he thought of what Jiyu Jiyin had said. Shinting, I can't go for coffee with you. I have something important to do. What's the hurry? It's about my life. Chapter 6. Her whole body was weak. After saying goodbye to Lu Shinting, Mu Ning didn't dare to call Jiyu Jiyin, so he called his secretary Song Hang. As soon as the call was connected, she asked directly, Song Hang, is Jiyu Jiyin in the company? Yes, Mr. Jiyu is in a meeting. What can I do for you, Miss Mu? Mu Ning didn't explain the reason, hung up the phone, and took a taxi directly to the Jiyu building. As soon as I entered the gate, I was stopped by security. Hey, wait, who are you looking for? I'm looking for Jiyu Jiyin. The security guard looked at her leisurely. The girl came in hurriedly and said she was looking for their general manager Jiyu. Her tone was quite arrogant. Humph, can their Mr. Jiyu be met casually? Little girl, you are not the first one to look for Mr. Jiyu, there are so many more here. The security guard pointed and Mu Ning looked over. The waiting area was full of people, and they were all women. As soon as Jiyu Jiyin returned to China, these women couldn't wait to get close to him. I have something urgent to discuss with him. Uncle, can you please make some concessions? Before he could finish his words, he was ruthlessly interrupted. No. I have professional ethics. Acting cute and coquettish won't work. Mu Ning was speechless. Uncle, which eye of yours saw me acting cute? The reason is that Mu Ning is petite, looks innocent and tender, and speaks in a baby voice, which can easily lead to misunderstanding. Little friend, if I let you in and disturb Mr. Jiyu, I will be fired, so please don't embarrass me. The security guard didn't know Mu Ning's identity and stopped her from entering without an appointment. Mu Ning had no choice but to call Song Hang. But the phone couldn't be dialed at this time. Why did it fail at the critical moment? Mu Ning could only go to the rest area and wait. Before she sat down, a shrill voice came. Hey, where did this child who hasn't been weaned come from? Boss Jiyu is so charming that even a child is trying to compete with us for his favor. She doesn't think that with her small body, Boss Jiyu will take a fancy to her, right? Boss Jiyu doesn't like that. A heavily made-up, long-haired woman sneered disdainfully, and then proudly squeezed her chest towards her. Mu Ning looked at her bouncing chest and pretended to be ignorant and asked, Sister, are you all here to look for Jiyu Jiyin? In Gu's company, who else should I look for if not him? The woman snorted coldly, You are such a rude kid. How can you call Master Jiyu by his name? In the capital, anyone who sees Jiyu Jiyin must respectfully address him as Master Jiyu. Mu Ning always called Jiyu Jiyin by his full name, and only called him Uncle Jiyu when he was acting coquettishly and trying to please him. When they were young, Jiyu Jiyin would beat her, but since some time ago, Jiyu Jiyin no longer scolded her for being disrespectful and just let her do whatever she wanted. Mu Ning came back to his senses and asked, Why are you looking for him? Last time, a woman fell in front of Master Jiyu, and Master Jiyu carried her into the car. I heard that he even gave her a reward of 1 million. Why do you think we are looking for him? Mu Ning seemed to be thinking, why didn't I know that Jiyu Jiyin was so wealthy? Master Jiyu has always been gentle and generous to women. Nonsense, Jiyu Jiyin is not that good, he is obviously a devil. Mu Ning muttered quietly, but the woman still heard it. You talk as if you know him? TSK. The woman walked aside with disdain on her face to fix her makeup. I don't know how these women are so well informed. As soon as Jiyu Jiyin returned to China, the Jiyu building was blocked by people. There are all kinds of women who want to seduce Jiyu Jiyin, but there is no woman around him. He was even mocked by his friends as a monk who does not eat meat. It was indeed strange. In all these years, Mu Ning had never seen him get close to a woman. A man in his early 30s, dealing with a group of men all day long. Is this a bit abnormal? But this was not what she should care about. She had to find out Yang Fan's whereabouts and hand in the design work. Mu Ning sat in an inconspicuous corner. After a while, I suddenly felt that the people around me stood up in unison, and then rushed towards the elevator exit like a spring breeze. Boss Jiyu. Boss Jiyu is out. The cool and handsome man was surrounded by a group of senior executives and strode out of the elevator. The bodyguards quickly separated the crazy women. Mr. Jiyu, it's me. We met the night before last, and you said I looked like your first love. Boss Jiyu, please look at me too. I've had dinner with you. Boss Jiyu, I'm pregnant. The child is yours. Mr. Jiyu, Mr. Jiyu. The women rushed forward, each with a sharper voice than the other. If the bodyguards hadn't stopped them, they would probably have eaten Jiyu Jiyin. Mu Ning pursed her lips and looked at him from a distance. Jiyu Jiyin was indifferent, his handsome face was calm and his eyes were only on the road, not lingering on anyone's face. He is aloof and proud, with a pure heart. These 8 words are enough to describe him. Seeing this scene, Mu Ning suddenly had the idea to play some fun. She tilted her head. How could she stand out among this group of crazy women and get Jiyu Jiyin's attention? Mu Ning thought secretly for a moment, then stood up and walked over. She pushed through the crowd and, using her small stature as an advantage, slipped under the bodyguard's arms. She rushed to Jiyu Jiyin and fell down at his feet with a plop. The little hand trembled and grabbed his trouser leg, crying loudly, "Daddy! Don't you want me anymore?" This shout caused the whole audience to fall into silence. The group was forced to stop. They all shifted their gazes from Jiyu Jiyin's face to the little girl under his trouser legs. It was already outrageous enough that a group of women tried to attract Jiyu Jiyin's attention, but unexpectedly, someone even more outrageous came along. How dare you call Jiyu Jiyin dad? Where did this crazy girl come from? How dare she shout randomly? What are you still standing there for? Get her out right away. A certain senior executive was afraid of upsetting Jiyu Jiyin, so he shouted at Mu Ning. The bodyguard quickly stepped forward and pulled Mu Ning away. Suddenly, a bony hand stopped him. The bodyguard was startled and met a cold and oppressive gaze. The hand separated the bodyguard and Mu Ning from each other, and waved to the side, causing the bodyguard to step back stiffly. The executives looked at Jiyu Jiyin's action in surprise. Dad, I finally found you. I'm Ning. Don't you recognize me? Mu Ning grabbed Jiyu Jiyin's trouser leg without any courtesy and deliberately blew his nose. Hiss. Seeing the expensive trousers instantly stained with the girl's snot, everyone's fists stiffened and their faces looked like they were about to crack. I can't stand it. I really can't stand it. Mr. Jiyu is so distinguished, how can he be treated like this? How dare you use Mr. Goosepants to wipe your nose? The man pointed at Mu Ning's nose and wanted to teach her a lesson. Song Heng's eyes turned cold and he scared the man away. You dare to point fingers at Master Gu's little ancestor? Don't you want to live? Jiyu Jiyin lowered his head and lifted the girl's chin with his fingers. What did you call me just now? Mu Ning was forced to meet his gaze. 2 tears hung from her red eyes. She opened her mouth aggrievedly, Dad. The loud voice echoed throughout the hall. How dare you shout so loudly? Just when everyone thought that this girl was going to be thrown out by Mr. Jiyu. Jiyu Jiyin loosened his hand that was pinching her chin and placed it on her head. Well, my good daughter. He rubbed her head hard, making her soft hair frizzy. Mu Ning was confused. A group of executives were also confused. The onlookers were all stunned. The ground is cold, get up quickly. Mu Ning was stunned. She originally wanted to play a prank on Ji Yujin and embarrass him in public. It was because of him that he spanked her like that last night, causing her to not sleep well all night. But I never expected that he would agree so generously and so naturally. Seeing her sitting there stupidly, Ji Yujin sighed softly, bent down, and picked her up. The petite girl was held in his arms like a child. He raised his hand to wipe away the hypocritical tears from her eyes. Ning Ning, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? Dad will buy it for you. Mu Ning's face was very stiff. She lowered her voice and asked quietly, Ji Yujin, are you serious? Ji Yujin looked at the fluff on the tip of her nose and raised his lips lazily. What's wrong, my dear daughter, weren't you the first to kneel down and acknowledge your father? His lips were pressed against Mu Ning's ear, and as he spoke, heat rolled out. Mu Ning got goosebumps all over his body and smiled guiltily. Uncle Jiyu, I was just kidding you. Aren't you afraid that you will affect your reputation as the president of Jiyu Corporation? The man raised an eyebrow. It doesn't matter. Don't you care so much about your reputation? Mu Ning felt that he had made a wrong calculation and Ji Yujin had no intention of setting a trap for him. Ning Ning is here just in time. There's something I need you to do. What's the matter? Mu Ning asked curiously. Chapter 7, I can only pamper my little wife. See these women? Help me clean them up. Don't you have security? Why do you ask me to help you? The security guards will clear out and they will stay outside. I want them to leave me alone. Is Ji Yujin trying to cut off his romantic opportunities? Not very good. Uncle Jiyu, you are already over 30 and still don't have a girlfriend. If I mess things up, what will happen to your lifelong affairs? Knowing that you have a daughter, who would dare to marry you in the future. Ning Ning, you don't need to worry about my lifelong affairs. You just need to listen to me and do what I say, okay? Mu Ning bit his lip and thought for a moment. I can help you clean them up, but... She stretched out her hands and put them around Ji Yujin's neck. Uncle Jiyu, I heard that last time a woman fell in front of you, you rewarded her 1 million. This time I also fell. How much are you going to reward me? Oh, I want a reward. The man rubbed her ear with his thin lips. Who fell last time? Ning Ning doesn't know. Mu Ning pouted in dissatisfaction. The girl that was widely rumored was her. But I didn't receive the 1 million from you. Isn't what I usually give you enough? Ji Yujin patted Mu Ning's little butt and threatened softly. Ning Ning, do you want to be beaten? Hurry up. I know. Mu Ning said impatiently. The next second, she fell on Ji Yujin's shoulder. Dad, you said you wouldn't find a stepmother behind my back. How could you lie to me? The man sighed pretentiously. Fool, how could you lie to Ning Ning? Mu Ning got goosebumps all over his body, and he cooperated in a coquettish voice. I don't want to see these annoying flies. Take me away from here quickly. Woo. Good. Ji Yujin scratched her nose lovingly. Take Ning Ning to eat delicious food. A group of executives stood there in a daze, watching in shock as Ji Yujin strode away holding Mu Ning. What the hell? The women screamed and then someone fainted. Everyone started talking about it. Fuck. Mr. Jiyu actually has a daughter. When did Mr. Jiyu get married? How come I didn't know? Could it be that the long-lost tadpole came back to find his father? It's impossible that there is no news about Mr. Gu's marriage. Is she really Mr. Gu's daughter? She doesn't look like it. Wow, I have been guarding my heart for Master Jiyu for 18 years, and today I am dead. No. I want to be the stepmother of Mr. Gu's daughter. In the car. Mu Ning's face was still red. Uncle Jiyu, you still don't get any benefit after taking advantage of me. Isn't this just freeloading? She is thinking about that 1 million all the time. Ji Yujin pretended not to hear and glanced at her. You don't want to call me daddy anymore. Mu Ning rolled his eyes. Are you my dad? What do you think? Ji Yujin bent his fingers and tapped her head. Hiss, it hurts. Mu Ning covered his forehead. Next time you do this, be careful and I'll make you sweep the yard when you get home. Oh. Mu Ning slid off his legs and turned his head to look out the window unhappily. It was obvious that he had gotten the advantage, but he turned around and taught her a lesson. Ji Yujin stared at the back of her head and reached out to pull her over. What do you want from me? Mu Ning then remembered why he was looking for him, and asked quietly, Uncle Ji, where did you take Yang Fan? When Yang Fan's name was mentioned, Ji Yujin's face darkened. Why, are you afraid that I will kill him? Mu Ning quickly explained, no, he didn't come to class today, and the professor asked me to contact him as soon as possible. I thought he couldn't be found since last night. If the school called the police, wouldn't you be in big trouble? Even if he called the police, this little thing wouldn't pose a threat to Ji Yujin. So Mu Ning said she was worried about him, but actually she was worried about that little beast. Mu Ning, put your thoughts aside. If you mention him again, I will kill him. Mu Ning shuddered suddenly. Uncle Ji, don't be angry. Didn't you ask me to break up with him? I will listen to you and break up with him, but we have to break up in person, right? Mu Ning shook Ji Yujin's arm. I'll go see him one last time and make things clear to him. I won't have any contact with him anymore, okay? Uncle Ji. Looking at Mu Ning's sincere pleading, Ji Yujin frowned. Can I, Uncle Ji? Ji Yujin closed his eyes. Take a deep breath. Songheng, turn around. Ji Yujin took Mu Ning to a private hospital. Mu Ning's heart skipped a beat. Why did they bring her to the hospital? Did Ji Yujin have someone beat Yang Fan to a pulp? This hospital only accepts children of high-ranking officials. Ordinary people are not allowed to enter. There was a bodyguard guarding the elevator entrance. It was obvious that Ji Yujin had imprisoned Yang Fan. No wonder no one could contact him. Mu Ning stood in the corridor of the anorectal department and saw Yang Fan inside through the glass window. She turned the doorknob and went in. Yang Fan was lying on the bed and the nurse was applying medicine to him. Yang Fan. Yang Fan turned his head and saw Mu Ning. He excitedly wanted to get up. Ning. Hiss, it hurts. You deserve the pain. Is your butt okay? The nurse said as she covered him with the blanket in a stern tone. Can you give me some face? Yang Fan tried to sit up unhappily. Seeing his face twisted in pain, Mu Ning said, just lie down, Yang Fan. Don't sit up if your butt is uncomfortable. Yang Fan lay on his side, looking at Mu Ning aggrievedly. Ning, I. Before he could finish his words, Yang Fan felt a chill on his neck. When he saw the man coming in, his body couldn't help but tremble violently. Mu Ning noticed that something was wrong with him. Yang Fan, what's wrong with you? You. Yang Fan pointed at the man who appeared in the ward with a look of horror on his face. Mu Ning turned around and glanced at Ji Yujin. Ji Yujin stopped behind Mu Ning and stared at Yang Fan expressionlessly. Yang Fan's cheeks suddenly turned red, his eyes were filled with fear and humiliation. Mu Ning, is he your uncle? I don't want to see him, can you please let him go? Please. Although she didn't know what happened last night, how could she ask Yang Fan for work when he was in such a state? Mu Ning looked at Ji Yujin in embarrassment. Uncle Ji, please go out first. Ji Yujin frowned slightly. Mu Ning. The word Mu Ning was full of warning, and Mu Ning heard it. Uncle Ji, we need some private space. He's so scared when you're here, and I'm embarrassed to say it out loud. Please go out first. I promise I won't drag it out. Ji Yujin paused for a moment and said, don't make me wait too long. After saying that, he turned and walked out. Mu Ning looked at Yang Fan, who was shivering in the quilt, and coughed. Yang Fan, he's gone, you can come out now. Only after making sure that Ji Yujin was really missing did Yang Fan dare to lift the quilt. With tears in his eyes, he complained, Mu Ning, why did you leave without saying goodbye last night? Also, did you tell your uncle something when you went back? Why did he come to me? Mu Ning was stunned for a moment. You don't remember what happened yesterday. Remember what? It's strange, why does Yang Fan seem to have lost his memory? But he just remembered Ji Yujin. Yang Fan, what did my uncle do to you? Chapter 8, Hug his little girl and it hurts. Yang Fan only remembered some fragments in the bar and the unforgettable experience of Ji Yujin asking someone to teach him a lesson. As for the rest, he had no recollection of it because he was too drunk. When Yang Fan mentioned Ji Yujin, his eyes turned red with shame. Mu Ning, your uncle is really a pervert. You also know he's a pervert. Wait. What happened to your butt? Mu Ning thought of something and covered his mouth in fear. No, he fucked you. Stop talking. Yarn Fan's embarrassed look further confirmed Mu Ning's guess. Oh my god, she seemed to have discovered Jiu Jiin's secret. Uncle Jiu, who is usually cold and abstinent, actually has this kind of hobby. For example, over the years, many women have pursued him, but I have never seen him have intimate contact with any of them. So he likes men? Mu Ning came over curiously. Tell me, is Jiu Jin good in bed? Is he strong in that aspect? Yarn Fan was so angry that he was fuming. I don't know. Don't be embarrassed. I'm just curious. How could he hurt you and put you in a hospital? TSK, Jiu Jin is such a beast, he actually tortured Yarn Fan into this state. Yarn Fan's face turned red. Mu Ning. Every time he moved, he felt a tearing pain in his back, and the medicine he had just applied started bleeding. He was so angry that he lay on the bed and cried. Okay, I won't say anything. Don't get excited. Mu Ning wanted to show concern for him. It's not good if you pull their wound. I heard that it hurts more than having a hemorrhoidectomy. Yarn Fan had a mouthful of blood stuck in his throat. Do you know how to comfort people? Mu Ning coughed and said, this is also my fault. I apologize to you on behalf of my uncle. No need for that. This was done by your uncle. It has nothing to do with you. Yarn Fan snorted. Mu Ning sighed in her heart. Yarn Fan was a good person. How could Jiu Jin be so cruel to him? He even taught her that she shouldn't have a boyfriend and forbid her to fall in love. But he ended up sleeping with Yarn Fan himself. This relationship is really hard to explain, it's so confusing. By the way, what on earth do you want to see me about? Mu Ning didn't beat around the bush. Didn't we sign up for the design competition together? Today at 6 o'clock is the deadline for submitting your work. I almost forgot about this. Yarn Fan scratched his head. The work was in his USB drive, luckily he had it with him. I don't have a computer here, you go and hand it in. Mu Ning didn't answer, pursed his lips. Yarn Fan, there is something I want to discuss with you. Just say what you want to say, why are you hemming and hawing? It's just. I want to go abroad, but my uncle won't allow me to. I can only use this competition as an exchange student. So you want to compete alone? Mu Ning lowered his head. Yeah. Yarn Fan was silent. This work was completed by Yarn Fan and Mu Ning. If Mu Ning wants to be admitted directly to Diggers, Yarn Fan cannot appear on the list of contestants and she must participate alone. Here you go. I'm withdrawing from the competition. Yarn Fan stuffed the USB drive directly into her hands. Mu Ning suddenly raised his head. Yarn Fan. She didn't expect Yarn Fan to agree so readily. Why? Who told me to? Yarn Fan looked at her hesitantly, his delicate face a little red. What? Nothing. Yarn Fan turned his face away. It's just a design work. Besides, isn't it also your hard work that contributed to it? So you don't want this exchange student spot? Yarn Fan spread his hands indifferently. I didn't want to participate in this competition in the first place anyway. It doesn't matter to me whether I go abroad or not. And even if I want to go abroad, my family can send me there. Mu Ning held the USB drive and felt it was heavy. Yarn Fan, I owe you a big favor. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about what happened between you and my uncle. Ahem. Yarn Fan wanted to explain, it's not like that. I'll treat you to dinner some other day. Mu Ning ran away. Yarn Fan covered his face and said, it's over, it's a huge misunderstanding. After Mu Ning came out of the ward, he didn't see Jiu Jin. Where's Uncle Jiu? Song Heng raised his hand and pointed. Following the direction Song Heng pointed, she found Jiu Jin in the smoking area. The man was leaning against the wall, standing in a cloud of smoke. The scorching midday sun shone through the window, penetrating the smoke and illuminating his handsome face. He frowned slightly, as if he was troubled by something, and the back of his hand holding the cigarette showed a few blue veins. He is so sad, maybe because of Yarn Fan's matter? Or do you find yourself liking men and can't accept it? After all, such a secret hobby must be a big blow to a man as excellent and perfect as him, not to mention that he is such a proud person. Woo woo woo, Uncle Jiu is so pitiful. She should try to make him less angry in the future. Jiu Jin was wondering if he had gone too far. What does a little girl like her know about love? It's just playing house. What's wrong with him? Why does he feel out of control? At this time, Mu Ning had already walked to Ji Yujin's side. She raised her hand and poked Ji Yujin's arm. The man was startled and turned around to see her. Her eyes were red and she looked like she was being bullied. Ji Yujin immediately frowned and put out his cigarette. What's wrong? Mu Ning shook his head. Thinking of Ji Yujin's physical defects and recalling how he had caused trouble and made Ji Yujin unhappy over the years, tears began to fall. Seeing Mu Ning's tears streaming down his face, Ji Yujin narrowed his eyes dangerously. Did he bully you? Mu Ning hugged Ji Yujin tightly. Uncle Ji, you are so kind. She wrapped her arms around Ji Yujin's waist, buried her face in his chest, and sobbed sadly. Ji Yujin was hugged by her unexpectedly. His body froze for a moment and he sighed helplessly. He bent down and picked her up, letting her look at him. Looking into her red eyes, he asked gently, Did you sort it out with that guy? Mu Ning nodded. Seeing Mu Ning looking as aggrieved as a little rabbit, Ji Yujin's heart softened. He raised his hand to wipe her tears and explained, Ning, I don't let you fall in love because it's for your own good. That boy is not worthy of you. You deserve better. I know, Uncle Ji, you don't need to explain, I know your good intentions. Mu Ning leaned her head obediently on Ji Yujin's broad shoulders, thinking to herself, Don't worry, Uncle Ji, I won't steal your man. Mu Ning submitted his work before 6 o'clock, then closed his notebook and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The next morning, the front door of Gu's company was surrounded by reporters. A luxurious black car slowly drove into everyone's sight, and reporters swarmed around it. Ji Yujin sat in the car and glanced outside calmly. What happened to make it so noisy? Chapter 9 I heard that Mr. Ji has a daughter. It was all because of the trouble made by that little ancestor at home yesterday. It seems that this master is still unaware of it. Song Heng pulled up the news for him to see, and it was filled with news about Ji Yujin having a daughter, and people were speculating about who the mother of the illegitimate daughter was. Ji Yujin flipped through the pages and frowned slightly. It was a photo of him holding Mu Ning from behind. Take down the photo. Yes. Song Heng suggested, Do you think we can go directly into the company from the underground garage? Need not. Ji Yujin straightened his collar and stepped out of the car. The reporters were already eager to try, and when they saw Ji Yujin get out of the car, they quickly turned their cameras towards him. Song Heng gave a look and the bodyguard quickly stopped the man. Mr. Ji, I heard that you have a daughter, is that true? Mr. Ji, you have been single all this time. May I ask who is your daughter's mother? Could you tell me if she is someone in the entertainment industry? Mr. Ji, can you please tell me about your daughter? The man stopped and raised his lips elegantly. How long has it been since the media companies in Kyoto were rectified? How dare they even ask about my private affairs? Everyone was frightened and quickly shut their mouths. At this time, a fearless woman suddenly jumped out and said, Boss Ji, I want to marry you. I promise to treat her as well as my own daughter. Ji Yujin didn't even look at the woman, and said coldly, I don't have any plans to find a mother for the child for the time being. In the elevator, Ji Yujin put his hands in his pockets. As the sightseeing elevator went up, his handsome face turned cold. Notify the public relations department in 10 minutes. If you can't suppress the situation, get out of Gu's company immediately. After Mr. Ji spoke, the public relations department did not dare to slack off. The matter was quickly suppressed and everything was calm, as if nothing had happened. In the afternoon, as soon as Mu Ning finished class, the professor called him to the laboratory building to get some information. The experimental building was a bit far away, standing alone on the hillside outside the school. Mu Ning rode her electric scooter there. She looked up at the sky, hoping it wouldn't rain when she came back. After successfully getting the information, she prepared to ride back. I inserted the key and turned it a few times, but the electric scooter didn't respond. It was fine when I came, why can't I hit it now? Mu Ning got out of the car to check and found that the battery had been stolen. Which idiot is picking on her, stealing her battery when there are so many electric donkeys parked here? Suddenly, with a squeak, a cool convertible Maserati stopped in front of her. The car body is a shit yellow color, which looks both flashy and tacky. Are you looking for this? Mu Ning looked up and saw Lin Chichi sitting in the car, holding a battery in her hand, looking at her proudly. Mu Ning chuckled. I was wondering which idiot stole my battery, it turned out to be you. Lin Chichi looked at her arrogantly. Mu Ning, how dare you be so arrogant? Your battery is in my hand. Lin Chichi, are you sick? Is your family so poor that you have to rely on stealing batteries to make a living? TSK, I wouldn't even want your junky car even if you gave it to me. Do you know what kind of car I have? It's the latest limited edition of Maserati. People in Beijing are trying hard to get it. Lin Chichi boasted. Oh. Mu Ning curled her lips in boredom. She was already numb to all the luxury cars in Gu Jian's garage. Forget it. Why am I telling you this? What do you, a country bumpkin, know about cars? Okay, you are so noble. My battery is useless to you. Just give it back to me and let me go. This way, my broken car won't be an eyesore to you. Mu Ning didn't want to have a meaningless argument with her here. She couldn't go home without the battery. Let you go? Humph. I just want you to be unable to return home. Lin Chichi sneered. You stole my man, and I stole your battery, isn't that perfect? What kind of neurotic statement is this? Mu Ning was speechless and choked. Lin Chichi waved her hand and threw the battery into the pond next to her. Mu Ning saw the battery sinking and his expression changed. Lin Chichi, are you crazy? Lin Chichi raised her chin proudly. Go ahead and curse me, the battery is dead, I want to see how you get home. Mu Ning clenched his fists, wishing he could kick her down. Suddenly, there was a faint sound of thunder in the sky. Lin Chichi looked up and said happily, Great, it's raining. Someone is going to be soaked. Mu Ning looked up at the sky, and fine and dense raindrops fell down and hit her eyes. An unknown fear suddenly arose in my heart. Mu Ning, do you want me to give you a chance? Kneel down and kowtow to me to apologize, and I will kindly take you back. Mu Ning looked at Lin Chichi's arrogant face and suppressed the panic in his heart. Huh? It's raining, why are the crows still making noise? Humph, just keep talking tough. Lin Chichi started the car and sneered. You'd better pray that it doesn't rain too hard, or you'll die halfway up the mountain. After saying that, with a boom sound, he stepped on the accelerator, and the car turned a corner and disappeared. Mu Ning gritted her teeth. Lin Chichi really was thinking about dealing with her all the time. Let Lin Chichi be arrogant for now. The most important thing now is to get back before dark. Then we can slowly settle the score with her. Mu Ning withdrew her gaze and took out her cell phone. The phone showed that there was 1% battery left, flashed once, and then turned off. Do you have to be so unlucky? Suddenly, there was a small muffled thunder. R. Mu Ning instinctively covered his ears and squatted down, closing his eyes with a pale face. When she was a child, she witnessed her mother being stabbed to death during thunder. So she is afraid of thunder. Fortunately, after the thunder, there was only a drizzle in the air. Mu Ning slowly stood up, carefully put the documents in her pocket, and walked home pushing her electric scooter. The early autumn rain was chilly, and as it got heavier, she was soaked through. When the cold wind blew, the biting chill penetrated into her body. She couldn't help but shiver. The night gradually fell and there was not a single car passing by. Mu Ning was already numb from the cold, with only his legs moving mechanically. Suddenly, a car light came from the front. Mu Ning subconsciously blocked it and quickly moved aside. The car stopped beside her. Ning Ning. Hearing the familiar voice, Mu Ning looked up suddenly. I was so excited that I almost cried. Ting Ting. Why are you here alone, girl? Get in the car. The heater in the car was turned up to maximum. Mu Ning took off his wet clothes and sneezed several times. Fuck Lin Chichi, she's so arrogant. If I don't teach her a lesson next time I see her, my surname is not Lu. After hearing what happened, Lu Shinting was so angry that she was about to explode. She cursed all the way, and when she glanced at Mu Ning, whose face was pale and whose lips were frozen purple, she couldn't help feeling distressed. If she hadn't happened to pass by here and picked up Mu Ning and put her in the car, this girl would probably have frozen to death here tonight. Mu Ning shrank in his seat, tears welling up in his eyes. Shinting, you are still the best. Girl, why don't you sleep with Yang Fan completely and make that bitch Lin Chichi die of rage? Lu Shinting said hatefully. Mu Ning's heart choked. That won't work. How could she compete with Uncle Jiu for a man? What? She treated you like this, and you still want to show mercy? This matter, I can't explain it clearly for the time being. You've never slept with a man before, right? You don't know where to start, right? I have a teaching video, a professional tutorial from Japan. I promise to teach you until you learn it. No, no, no. Mu Ning shook his head like a rattle. Don't do that. When Mu Ning thought of Gu Jian's charcoal-like face, her heart turned cold. She didn't want to do anything naughty anymore. Lu Shanting sneered, look at what you have accomplished. Mu Ning supported his dizzy head. It's just that he has no future. It's because Gu Jian is so scary. When he goes crazy, it's unimaginable. When Lu Shanting sent Mu Ning back to the villa, the rain had stopped. The huge villa was dark and somewhat cold and eerie. Chapter 10. Does Uncle Gu love me? Mrs. Zhang is still on vacation and Gu Jian hasn't come back yet. Mu Ning turned on the light and dragged her tired body upstairs. She took a hot bath, blew her hair dry, ate something casually, and lay down in bed. She fell asleep in a daze, and woke up inexplicably after an unknown amount of time. I picked up my phone and saw that it was only 1 in the morning. Suddenly, the sound of a car was heard outside the house. She drew aside the curtains and saw a beam of car lights shining into the yard. It was Gu Jian who came back. He was out socializing until so late again. Mu Ning was already used to it and subconsciously lifted the quilt and got out of bed. All the lights in the living room were turned off, leaving only an orange floor lamp on. The man was resting on the sofa, and the light softened the cold lines on his body. Mu Ning went to the water bar to make a cup of sobering tea as he did before, then walked over and placed it on the coffee table in front of him. Gu Jian supported his forehead with his hands, his eyes closed, and his brows slightly furrowed. He seemed to have drunk a lot of wine tonight. Mu Ning could smell a strong smell of alcohol from a distance. She accidentally stepped on a suit jacket on the ground. She bent down to pick it up and was about to cover Gu Jian with it, but when she raised her eyes, her breathing suddenly stopped. Gu Jian's shirt collar was wide open, revealing his sexy collarbone and large, firm pectoral muscles. A scent of abstinence wafted towards him. Mu Ning's cheeks turned red. He turned around in shame and covered his face with his coat. She seemed to have seen something she shouldn't have. Turn around. A deep, hoarse voice sounded behind him. Mu Ning turned around obediently, revealing a pair of eyes, and stared at Gu Jian with blinking eyes. Uncle Gu, you're not asleep. The man stared at her with dark eyes. The girl was only wearing a white nightgown, with nothing underneath. Her long black hair was draped behind her head, and her eyes were clear and bright, like a small white flower. Gu Jian bent down, reached out to pull off her coat that was covering her face, threw it aside, sat back, and curled his lips wantonly. I fell asleep and was woken up by Ning again. Mu Ning rolled his eyes. Uncle Gu is really good at scamming people. She was very quiet, and made no sound at all. Ning, haven't you slept yet? I fell asleep, but was woken up by Uncle Gu. The man snorted and stared at the steaming cup on the coffee table. For me? Well, Uncle Gu has a bad stomach, and he drank so much alcohol, his stomach must be hurting. Mu Ning picked it up and handed it to him. Drink this, and you won't feel so bad. Gu Jian didn't answer, and leaned his head against the back of the chair. I don't want to move. Ning, feed me. TSK, Uncle Gu is so lazy. In the past, when Gu Jian was drunk, he would not let anyone get close to him except Mu Ning, so she learned how to take care of him. This has become a tacit understanding between them. Mu Ning sat on the sofa and fed the tea to his lips, and he took a small sip. Uncle Gu, drink a little more, otherwise your stomach will still feel uncomfortable. The man obediently took a few sips. It really worked, and his stomach didn't hurt as much anymore. Wasn't it honey grapefruit tea before? Where did this come from? Mu Ning sat beside him and pursed his lips. I knew Uncle Gu had to drink alcohol when he was entertaining people, so I asked an expert to prescribe some medicine. The man patted her head and said, "You are so good." Achoo! Mu Ning sneezed unexpectedly. She rubbed her nose and said, "I won't disturb Uncle Gu's rest. I'm going back to sleep. Good night." Why? Mu Ning stood up to leave, but was pulled back by someone. Are you catching a cold? Gu Jian held her in his arms and sat her on his lap, placing his warm big hands on Mu Ning's forehead. Warm breath with the smell of alcohol sprayed on Mu Ning's neck. She shrank her neck and shook her head. No, maybe I caught a cold. You've caught a cold and you're still wearing so little? Ning wants to get an injection. Ji Yujin slapped her on the butt as a punishment, picked up the remote control from the coffee table, and turned up the temperature in the living room. Speaking of catching a cold, Mu Ning thought of Lin Chichi's hateful face tonight. The next second, she put her arms around Ji Yujin's neck and said aggrievedly, Uncle Ji, please buy me a car. Ji Yujin frowned when he heard this. What do you need a car for? The school is quite far away, I want to drive to school. Mu Ning's voice trailed off. I gave it to you before but you didn't want it. Why did you change your mind? Previously, Ji Yujin wanted to buy her a car, but she refused it, saying that small electric scooters were cooler. That's not what I meant. Mu Ning bit his lip. She was keeping a low profile because she was afraid that people in the school would know about her relationship with Ji Yujin and bring trouble to herself. She took Ji Yujin's hand and said in a delicate voice, Uncle Ji, I didn't want it then, but I do now. It was windy and rainy today, and I came back in the rain. Mu Ning was not wearing anything inside and was swinging around holding Ji Yujin's arm. She had been close to Ji Yujin since she was a child and didn't realize there was anything wrong with this. What's more, she knew that Uncle Ji liked men, so she had even less sense of boundaries. Ji Yujin wouldn't do anything to her anyway. As he was shaking like this, Ji Yujin's hand accidentally touched her softness. His eyes darkened and he felt irritated and wanted to smoke. He picked up the cigarette box and took out a cigarette with his mouth, but did not light it. You can drive if you want, but you need a driver's license to drive on the road. Mu Ning quickly raised his hand and said, I swear, my skills are already very good. It doesn't matter if I don't have a driver's license. Ji Yujin sneered, who paid 50,000 yuan a year in tuition, changed several driving schools, and failed the test several times. Huh? Is he a skilled driver? Mu Ning wailed, it's the coach who's not good enough, okay. Is there not a single coach who can do it? Ji Yujin tapped her on the head. She covered her head, isn't it just a certificate? Just spend money to buy me one. Lu Shinting also bought her own certificate, and it's still in good condition. Ji Yujin found a lighter, lit it, and the flame flickered between the two of them. His voice was slightly hoarse from the smoke. I don't care about others, but I can't joke with your life. Mu Ning sniffed and said, you didn't see how miserable I was after being soaked to the skin. You said it, I have everything that others have, but others have cars now, and I don't, so I am just a child with no one to take care of me. Ji Yujin smiled and said, Ning is still a child. He took a quick look and found that the child had grown well and didn't look like a child at all. Mu Ning pouted and muttered, am I not a poor little kid who is unloved now? Hearing no one loves, Ji Yujin frowned, who said no one loves me. Does Uncle Ji love me? Love her? When this question was asked, Mu Ning himself didn't realize that something was wrong. Ji Yujin pressed his fingers slightly harder while chasing the cigarette. Am I not spoiling you enough? Since Uncle Ji dotes on me, I want a car. Can I have one? Mu Ning hugged his arm and moved forward. She was completely unconscious, but Ji Yujin had drunk some alcohol, which had already made some desires in his body restless. As she moved, the edge of her white skirt rubbed against his black trouser legs, and her soft thighs inadvertently rubbed against his. Ji Yujin's throat tightened. Somewhere there was an immediate reaction. With a click, a coat was covered on Mu Ning's head. Mu Ning's eyes went dark and before he could react, he was lifted up. Ji Yujin, what are you doing? Chapter 11 Ji Yujin loses control. Ji Yujin picked her up and strode upstairs. He put Mu Ning on the bed, took off the coat on her head, and covered her with a blanket. Starting tomorrow, let the driver take you there. After saying that, he turned around hurriedly, closed the door and went out. Mu Ning shouted towards the door, Uncle Ji, please consider it again. As long as there is a car, I will definitely get a driver's license. No one responded to her at all. Ji Yujin always keeps his word with her. Mu Ning lay on the bed dejectedly. Usually, as long as she said something soft, Ji Yujin would satisfy her request. What happened to him today? She was completely sleepless and reached for her phone to send a message to Lu Shinting. Are you asleep? It's still early. It's not even daybreak yet. He is indeed a night owl. She immediately called Lu Shinting to complain. Jiu Jian is so stingy. There was some noise from Lu Shinting's end. Isn't it? You didn't see it. I used all my skills, but I never thought he was so stingy. You too, how hard is it to learn to drive? If you have a driver's license, won't I buy it for you? Thank you. Mu Ning couldn't help rolling his eyes. You talk as if you have a driver's license. But I have a car. I'm just asking for trouble. Why don't you find a boyfriend? Lu Shinting suggested, let your boyfriend buy it for you. Have a boyfriend. Mu Ning thought about the 18-point ban set by Jiu Jian and decided to give up. When Jiu Jian goes crazy, it is not something that ordinary people can bear. Thinking of Yang Fan's end, she couldn't help but shiver. After hanging up the phone, she threw the phone aside and went to sleep. Mu Ning woke up and it was already 10 o'clock in the morning. Jiu Jian went out and left breakfast for her on the table. Mu Ning curled his lips. He knew at a glance that it was Song Heng who packed it. Jiu Jian would never do such a thing. The sky cleared up and her mood improved a little. She sat at the table, eating breakfast and browsing her moments. Suddenly, her eyes narrowed. Lin Chichi actually posted a 9-grid photo of herself with a luxury car. Various poses to show off wealth. There is also a photo of her pushing her electric scooter home. She was soaked like a drowned rat, with her wet hair stuck to her face. She looked as miserable as she could be. Mu Ning's mood, which had just gotten better, suddenly became terrible. There are a lot of brainless comments below. Wow, the beauty in the Chichi car is even more beautiful. The beautiful car and the beauty are really pleasing to the eyes. Chichi is so pretty. This car really suits Chichi's temperament. Chichi is indeed a school beauty. Who is that lady down there? Is she trying to make you laugh? He looks familiar, could he be from our department? The little electric scooter looks familiar. Why would the little electric scooter overestimate its capabilities in front of a luxury car? Har ha har ha. Lin Chichi responded below. Mu Ning said my car is too ugly, not as cool as her BMW, and asked me to find a junk collector to take my car away, woo woo. Someone immediately responded below. So it's that bumpkin Mu Ning. He feels so superior riding an electric donkey. Har ha ha ha, it's hilarious. Chichi, don't be sad. She's just jealous of you. Look at how poor she is. Even if she sold her car, she couldn't even afford a spare part for your car. Look at how drenched she is. She looks like a drowned dog. How embarrassing. How can she compare to our pretty Chichi? I don't know where Mu Ning got the confidence from. He dares to mock the goddess Chichi. He treats her broken car like a treasure. Go back and hold it while you sleep. She likes riding electric donkeys so much, so let's just call her Sister Donkey. Har har har. Mu Ning placed the phone on the table. Lin Chichi caused her to get caught in the rain yesterday and she almost couldn't get home. She even took a secret photo of her in such a miserable state and posted it online. Her actions of flattering the powerful and bullying the weak really made her sick. I haven't settled the score with her for last night yet, and yet I dare to let everyone come and watch and mock her. We can't let Lin Chichi be so proud. Mu Ning ate a few bites of breakfast, slipped into Jiu Jian's study, and found a drawer based on his memory. When you open it, you'll see all sorts of car keys displayed in the drawer, all with logos of the world's top cars. Mu Ning licked his lips. Jiu Jian had so many cars, it wouldn't be too much to lend him one. She put the car keys in her pocket and slipped into the basement garage. There was a whole row of Jiu Jian's luxury cars parked there, dazzling Mu Ning's eyes. His eyes followed each car and finally stopped in front of a silver convertible sports car. The cars here are taken care of by special people. The car bodies are spotless and the dark brown leather seats look very high-end. Mu Ning sat on one to try it out. Well, very good, that's it. Key, ignition, start. The operation was completed in one go and the car started slowly. Mu Ning was very confident in his driving skills and drove towards the door leisurely. There was a small garden when she turned, and she stepped on the brakes for fear of hitting it. With a loud boom, the car suddenly rushed out like crazy. This scene happened to be witnessed by Jiu Jian, who had just returned. He saw the out-of-control car rushing towards the yard, and when he saw Mu Ning sitting in the car, his heart stopped for a second. Parking. He frowned and shouted coldly. Song Han was startled and quickly stopped the car. He had never seen Ji Yujin so out of control, his handsome face completely drained of color. Ji Yujin opened the car door and got out. At this time, Mu Ning drove the car and crashed into several trees. Ji Yujin pressed the remote control and the defense device in the yard was immediately activated. A row of sharp spikes like steel needles stood up on the ground and punctured the tires. The car reduced its impact and finally stopped after hitting the wall. Fortunately, this car has a high safety factor, and even with the strong impact, Mu Ning did not suffer any injuries. But she was already frightened. Suddenly, the car door was opened. When she turned around, she saw Ji Yujin standing outside the car with a gloomy face. "Come down." Mu Ning shuddered and found himself completely unable to move. Ji Yujin grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the car. Her legs felt weak and she was about to kneel down as soon as she touched the ground. Ji Yujin quickly grabbed her limp waist and frowned. "Are you hurt?" Mu Ning shook his head as if he had lost his soul. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and angrily shouted with a dark face, "Mu Ning, you are so brave. How dare you take advantage of me when I'm not at home?" "Woo woo woo, Uncle Ji. Mu Ning hugged Ji Yujin's waist. Chapter 12, Such a Little Ancestor. Before Ji Yujin gets angry, she must calm his anger first. Her watery eyes met his gloomy gaze. "Uncle Ji, it's great to still see you. I almost met the king of hell, woo woo woo." Ji Yujin hated to see Mu Ning cry the most. Not surprisingly, I was stunned. Seeing her frightened pale face, I instantly lost my temper. He closed his eyes, restrained himself again and again, then grabbed Mu Ning's ear and walked towards the villa. "Oh, it hurts, it hurts." At this moment, the car fell apart with a loud bang. The two of them stiffened their backs at the same time. Mu Ning felt scared, but Ji Yujin, his other hand, hanging by his side, was trembling slightly. In the living room, Mu Ning sat obediently on the sofa. Ji Yujin sat opposite her, not saying a word and smoking. Mu Ning was choking so badly that he lowered his head and didn't even dare to breathe. Ji Yujin stared at her with his dark eyes, his face was cold, and the veins on the back of his hand, which was holding the cigarette, were frightening. Mu Ning had no doubt that if Ji Yujin had not restrained himself, he would have picked up the ashtray at hand and thrown it at her. She didn't know how Ji Yujin was going to punish her next, so she just sat there, feeling tormented. It was more torturous than just punishing her directly, so it would be better to give her a quick death. "Why didn't you drive privately without my permission?" he asked in a deep voice, and Mu Ning answered fluently, "Didn't you say that you can only drive after passing the driving test? It just so happens that I want to practice at home." Ji Yujin frowned, noticing the bulges in her pants. "What's in there?" Mu Ning was stunned, and immediately covered his mouth. "No, nothing." "Take it out." "It's nothing. Don't make me do it myself." Mu Ning felt so miserable that he could only take out their treasures in his pocket one by one. Looking at the car keys placed on the coffee table, Ji Yujin, who was furious, almost laughed out of anger. "If I hadn't come back, I wouldn't have known there was a car thief in my house." "Hey, don't say such harsh words. I treated you badly, so you want to take my car and run away?" "No." "Oh, Uncle Ji, please listen to me." Mu Ning interrupted him. "I really want to own a car of my own. You have so many cars, so just lend me one and I'll return it to you when the time comes. This is what happens if I lend you the car." Ji Yujin pointed his finger, holding a cigarette, outside the floor-to-ceiling window. The backyard had been destroyed by Mu Ning, and Song Han was asking someone to clean it up. Mu Ning covered his face and said, "This is purely an accident. Uncle Ji, please believe me, I promise I won't mistake the accelerator for the brake next time." Hearing this, Ji Yujin felt a pang of fear. "Will there be a next time? From now on, you are strictly prohibited from touching the car. Ask the driver to take you wherever you go." "Don't want." But no matter how Mu Ning protested, Ji Yujin always had a cold face. She knew it was useless to continue making a fuss, so she went upstairs dejectedly. Ji Yujin sat in the living room with a headache. This girl had grown up and was becoming more and more difficult to manage. At this time, Song Han walked in. "Master Ji, the insurance agent came and checked the vehicle, and said the car was completely scrapped and didn't need to be repaired. Jiu Jin supported his aching temple and waved his hand. Tell someone to drag him away. Yes. Song Heng paused and reminded him, you bought this at the French auto show for $70 million. You said you would give it to Miss Mu as a dowry. Cough. Jiu Jin took a puff of cigarette. Forget it, I'll prepare the dowry later. She's still young now and doesn't need it. Song Heng thought, is the focus on the dowry? Isn't he the point that this car worth 400 or 500 million yuan was scrapped just like that? Is Master Jiu so angry that he is confused? Song Heng turned around and wanted to leave, but suddenly remembered something. Oh, Master Jiu, all those precious flowers and plants you planted in the backyard were crushed to death by Miss Mu. Ahem. Jiu Jin put out his cigarette and took a sip of tea to suppress the smell of blood. Song Heng felt distressed when he saw Jiu Jin about to lose his temper but forcing himself to suppress it. If Mr. Jiu didn't have a strong mentality, he would have been angered to death by Miss Mu long ago. Jiu Jin sighed, if they die, let others plant them again. It's good that they are not injured. But the flowering period only occurs once every 10 years, so if you want to plant it again you'll have to wait another 10 years. Yes, I will withdraw first. Song Heng walked while shaking his head, wondering what sin did Master Jiu commit in his previous life that he had to have such a little ancestor. Mu Ning lay on the bed playing with his cell phone in frustration. Suddenly, footsteps were heard outside the door. She quickly threw her phone away and covered herself with the quilt, pretending to sleep. Knock knock, there's a knock on the door. She said in a muffled voice, I'm sleeping. I won't have lunch. There was silence outside the door for a while, and then the man pushed the door open and came in. He walked to the bed and sat down, looking at the bulge in the quilt, and asked with his thin lips, why do you have to have a car? She hid her face in the quilt and said angrily, others have cars, but I don't. I'm jealous, okay. Then you have me, and others don't. I'd give you to someone else in exchange for a car. Mu Ning blurted out this sentence because he was depressed. Unexpectedly, Jiu Jin's face turned dark. He reached into the quilt, grabbed her ear, pulled her out of the quilt, and gave her a slap in the face without any hesitation. R. Mu Ning covered his forehead with his hands, tears welling up in his eyes. What are you doing? Jiu Jin said gloomily, Mu Ning, I taught you not to compare yourself with others since you were a child. I'm not comparing myself to others, nor am I vain, She just wanted to save face for herself and didn't want Lin Shiqi to always come to her for trouble, bully and humiliate her, and post on WeChat moments and Weibo for everyone to laugh at her. She wanted Lin Shiqi to shut up and not disturb her peace. But if he said it out loud, Jiu Jin would only feel childish. Nothing. Mu Ning waved away Jiu Jin's hand and rolled to the side sickly, I'm tired and want to rest. Uncle Jiu, please go out. Jiu Jin's eyes darkened. After a moment of silence, he stood up and went out. Jiu Jin forbade Mu Ning to touch a car, so she would never have any chance to own a car in her life. A few days later, Mu Ning asked Lu Shenting to accompany her to repair the electric scooter, and the two of them rode the electric scooter to school. On their way, the breeze was gentle and the weather was great, but Mu Ning just couldn't be happy. If Jiu Jin doesn't lend me a car, I won't have one. If I run into Lin Shiqi again, she'll ridicule me. Lu Shenting snorted from behind, it's fine if he doesn't want to lend it to you. Don't you still have me? Let's go and get your revenge. Revenge? Yeah, I've disliked Lin Shiqi for a long time. She dares to target you like this. I must deal with her today. The two of them sneaked downstairs to the dormitory. Is this reliable? Chapter 13, I feel itchy all over if I don't do anything stupid. Mu Ning looked around. It was lunchtime and not many people were around. What are you afraid of? Isn't she showing off? Damage her car and see how she shows off. Mu Ning shook his head. I was just wondering if it's not a good idea for us to do this. She thought of a way to take revenge on Lin Shiqi, which was to drive a better car to school so that Lin Shiqi would become jealous and never dare to ridicule and humiliate her again. Lu Shenting squinted at her, you still sympathize with her? When she stole your battery and made you walk home in the rain, did she ever sympathize with you? Why should I sympathize with her? I'm afraid of being discovered for doing something bad. Don't worry, we'll leave as soon as we finish cutting. Lu Shenting took out 2 pairs of scissors and handed one to Mu Ning. Mu Ning looked at the sharp scissors and asked, "Where did you get such sharp scissors?" "In order to avenge you, I stayed at home for 3 days." Mu Ning was shocked when he heard this. Oh, Shinting is still the best to her. The two came to the parking space. Good fellow. Lin Chichi's flashy car occupied 3 parking spaces and was particularly eye-catching. Lu Shinting rolled her eyes. I see she's itchy all over if she doesn't do something stupid. Look, is this something a human would do? It's disgusting. The parking spaces downstairs of the dormitory building were already tight. Not only did Lin Chichi occupy resources, but she also blocked other cars from leaving. Her arrogant parking posture made it seem as if the school was owned by her family. The 2 girls circled Lin Chichi's car, found the right angle and position, and were about to take action. Hey! You two! What do you want to do? Suddenly there was a shout, and the 2 girls were startled. Seeing the security guard chasing them, they hurriedly put away the scissors. What are you doing? The security guard circled around the 2 of them. We have never seen such a good car, and we want to see what a luxury car looks like. Lu Shinting lied without hesitation. Mu Ning also blinked innocently. I heard that this car costs millions of yuan. I ride a small electric donkey to go to school every day. I'm so envious. I want to see it and learn more. The security guard obviously didn't believe it. Come on, why are you circling someone else's car in the middle of the day? I can see you 2 are holding scissors. Mu Ning's heart skipped a beat. Which department and class are you from? Come with me to the academic affairs office and explain it to the school. As he said this, he was about to come up and arrest someone. Mu Ning and Lu Shinting went to the academic affairs office as soon as they heard this, and then asked Lin Chichi to verify it. Would that explanation be clear? The 2 looked at each other. Shinting, get in the car. While the security guard was not paying attention, Mu Ning jumped onto a small electric scooter nearby. Lu Shinting quickly followed, turned the key, and the small electric scooter shot out with a whoosh. The security guard reacted and chased after them. Hey, you 2, stop right there. Mu Ning slowed the car to the lowest speed and sped towards the teaching building. Mu Ning breathed a sigh of relief after finally getting rid of the security guard. That was a close call. I almost got caught. What are you afraid of? It doesn't matter if we get caught. We didn't really do it. I don't know why you feel guilty. It's not that she feels guilty, she just doesn't want to cause trouble. If Lin Chichi knew about it, she would definitely blackmail her. But it's a pity that I didn't scratch Lin Chichi's car. Lu Shinting sighed. It's okay. I'll get rid of this anger sooner or later. Just don't let me run into her at school now. Beep. There was a burst of urgent horn sounds behind me. Mu Ning hurriedly moved aside, but heard shrill laughter. Hey, isn't this Sister Electric Donkey? How are you? Are you excited to be caught in the rain? Have you fixed your precious donkey? Are you riding your donkey to show off at school again? Lin Chichi sat in her fancy Maserati, wearing sunglasses and designer clothes, and mocked Mu Ning in a condescending manner. Whatever you say, it's true. Lin Chichi, I didn't provoke you, why are you as annoying as a fly? Lin Chichi deliberately moved the car towards them, and Mu Ning was squeezed and almost fell on the curb. Hold your donkey steady, Mu Ning, or you might fall and knock out your teeth, har 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 har. Lin Chichi held the steering wheel with one hand and sneered at them with contempt. Lin Chichi, did you eat shit today? Your mouth stinks. You're so proud of driving a Maserati? I don't know what you think. You're yellow and earthy, just like a pile of shit. Are you a fly? Why do you love to bite shit so much? And you show off your shit as if it's your treasure. Lu Shinting's mouth was firing like a laser gun, making Lin Chichi's face turn red. Don't pay attention to her, Chichi. She's just sour grapes because she can't eat them. Why bother with 2 country bumpkins who don't know the difference between respect and inferiority? The girl sitting in the passenger seat said sarcastically. She is Lin Chichi's good sister Yumeng, and she has the same taste of green tea as Lin Chichi. Lu Shinting's face immediately fell. Who are you calling a country bumpkin? I'm scolding you, you stinking country bumpkin. You don't even have a 4-wheeled vehicle to come to school. Only people from the countryside would ride such a junky thing. You look so poor. Why are you going to school? Go back and pick up junk. Yumeng's face was extremely arrogant. Only the 2 of you can get together. You are both the same kind of people. As she spoke, she took out her phone to take a video. Look, Sister Donkey and her little follower are riding their donkeys to chase the sun. Stop the car, Mu Ning. I'm going to chop her to pieces. Lu Shanting roared with gritted teeth. Mu Ning was driving in front, and his voice came through the wind. Don't worry, Ting Ting, I will definitely help you get rid of this anger. Mu Ning suddenly accelerated and drove in front of the Maserati, blocking the way. Lin Chichi was forced to brake. What are you doing? Country bumpkin, haven't you ever heard that a good dog doesn't block the road? Mu Ning put down his feet, got out of the car, walked towards Yu Meng, and grabbed her hair without saying a word. What do you want to do? Let go. Yu Meng's scalp suddenly felt numb from being pulled. Apologize. Fuck you. You want me to apologize to you? Who the hell do you think you are? You country bumpkin. Mu Ning exerted force and pulled Yu Meng's head directly out of the window. Yu Meng screamed in pain, bitch. Let me go. Lin Chichi also shouted anxiously, Mu Ning, are you crazy? How dare you fight in school? Let Meng go. I won't let go until you apologize. Yu Meng was in so much pain that she could only apologize reluctantly. I'm sorry. And you, Lin Chichi? Lin Chichi gritted her teeth and said, you want me to apologize? Dream on. She stepped on the accelerator. Mu Ning had expected her to do this, so he pulled Yu Meng's hair even harder. Stop. Stop now. Yu Meng let out a sharp cry of pain. Mu Ning pulled out a large amount of her hair, and her scalp was also lifted up. Lin Chichi was so scared that she quickly stepped on the bike. The car knocked down Mu Ning's electric scooter parked in front, but fortunately Lu Shanting was no longer on it. Mu Ning also breathed a sigh of relief and saw a handful of hair in his hand. Huh? A wig. Lin Chichi covered her mouth and looked at Yu Meng in horror, obviously frightened. Meng, your head. All I could see was Yu Meng's head, which looked like his high school physics teacher, with only a few hairs left. Oh my god, Yu Meng, what happened to you? How come all your hair fell out at such a young age? Lu Shanting came over and yelled at the top of her voice, did you catch some disease outside? Chapter 14 Lin Chichi apologizes. Shut up. Yu Meng hurriedly put on his hat. Her boldness was hereditary. In order to avoid being discovered by others, she wore a wig all year round, and even Lin Chichi didn't know about it. Yu Meng was furious and reached out to grab Mu Ning in shame and anger, give my wig back to me now. Mu Ning immediately took 2 steps back and said, if you apologize, I'll give it back to you. Didn't I just apologize? Mu Ning raised his chin, and her. Lin Chichi's face changed. This is a feud between you and Yu Meng. What does it have to do with me? Mu Ning sneered, you stole my battery, left me wet in the rain, and posted my photos on WeChat moments for people to laugh at, fabricating facts that didn't exist. Do I need to remind you of these things one by one? Passers-by looked over and pointed at Lin Chichi. Lin Chichi was particularly confident, Mu Ning, how can you slander me? Do you have any evidence? Why are you slandering me? Mu Ning was too lazy to talk nonsense with her. Stop acting, Lin Chichi, are you going to apologize or not? Why? I didn't do anything wrong, why should I apologize? Mu Ning, you are so unreasonable. I know you don't like me, but don't go too far. Mu Ning rolled his eyes, don't you claim to have the best relationship with Yu Meng? I asked you to apologize with her, but you are unwilling to do so. Lin Chichi's face turned pale and blue. Yu Meng turned around and cried to her, yes, Chichi, just apologize to her. Can you bear to see me go to class like this? How could I not bear it? For Lin Chichi, asking her to apologize to Mu Ning would be like asking her to die. Lin Chichi, I won't talk about the disgusting things you did to Mu Ning. You should have apologized. Now Mu Ning gave you a chance and a way out. You were asked to apologize on behalf of Yu Meng, but you were unwilling to do so. You still have the nerve to talk about your deep sisterly love. I'm afraid you two are a pair of fake sisters. Lu Shanting said sarcastically. Don't stir up trouble here. It's just an apology, isn't it? That's all I have to say. Lin Chichi thought that the Yu family still provided business assistance to the Lin family, and she couldn't ruin her relationship with Yu Meng. So he closed his eyes and squeezed out 3 words from between his teeth, I'm sorry. TSK, you look so reluctant. Mu Ning smiled, what are you sorry for? I'm sorry, Mu Ning, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this to you. Lin Chichi started crying out of grievance as she spoke. She cried on purpose for Yu Meng to see, and also for passers-by to see. It's my fault. I shouldn't have provoked Meng Meng to scold you. Please return the wig to Meng Meng. Meng Meng is innocent. Whether you are willing to forgive me or not, just come to me if you have any problems. I am willing to take responsibility for everything. Okay, then you'll take care of it. Lu Shanting took out the key from her bag and carved 2 words on the hood of Lin Chichi's car, Lin Dog. Mu Ning took a look. Very well written, in regular script. Lin Chichi's eyes widened and she quickly got out of the car to see, how dare you scratch my car? This is my new car. You have to pay me for it. Pay compensation. Didn't you say you would take responsibility for everything? I just recorded it. Lu Shanting took out her cell phone. Lin Chichi was so angry that her eyes turned red. Lu Shanting put away her phone in a good mood. Next time you see us, take a DT, and don't let me see you bullying Mu Ning again, otherwise it won't be as simple as scratching the car. Ning Ning, let's go. Why? Mu Ning threw the wig to Yu Meng, and the 2 of them rode away in style on their electric scooters. Lin Chichi stared at the 2 men's backs, her nails piercing into her palms. Yu Meng saw Lin Chichi with a ferocious face and whispered, Chichi, thank you so much for what you did just now. Lin Chichi immediately put away the viciousness in her eyes, turned around and said with a smile, it's okay, Meng Meng, aren't we best sisters? I certainly won't stand idly by when I see you being bullied. As she spoke, she also considerately helped Yu Meng put on the wig. Yu Meng was touched, Chichi, you are so nice. Lin Chichi touched her wig and smiled gently, Meng Meng, are you unwilling to accept this? I was angry for you for what those 2 bitches did to you just now. Why did they pull your hair and be so arrogant? After Lin Chichi's reminder, Yu Meng's face was filled with rage, of course I won't accept this. I wish I could kill them. Lin Chichi raised her lips sinisterly, then I'll give you a chance now, do you want it? Lu Shanting sat on the throne behind Mu Ning and stretched lazily, I'm so happy, the air feels fresher. Mu Ning also smiled. She didn't expect that she would be able to deal with Lin Chichi without Jiu Jin buying her a car. It was almost time for class, so Mu Ning rode her bike to the parking lot behind the teaching building. Just as she turned a corner, a yellow sports car rushed towards them. The speed was so fast that it was too late to dodge. Yu Meng, sitting in the driver's seat, stepped hard on the accelerator. After Lin Chichi added fuel to the fire, she had lost her mind. Her face was covered with anger, twisted hideously, you 2 bitches, go to hell. Bang! With a loud bang, the front of the car hit the electric scooter violently. After the violent collision, the 2 girls in the car were thrown out. Mu Ning felt dizzy and the next second, his body fell heavily to the ground. He rolled for an unknown number of times before finally stopping after hitting a tree trunk. I bumped into someone. Quick, go check, is anyone okay? He heard chaotic footsteps and anxious shouts of passers-by. Mu Ning lay on the ground, his eyes went dark, his head felt dizzy, and his whole body ached as if it was falling apart. Are you okay? How are you feeling? She's bleeding. Quick! Call 120 and get an ambulance. A stream of warm liquid flowed down Mu Ning's forehead. Hearing the terrified screams of passers-by, Mu Ning forced his eyes open, ignoring the severe pain all over his body, and staggered to his feet. Hey! Where are you going? You're hurt. Shanting, Shanting. Mu Ning kept muttering to himself, with only one thing in his mind, he wanted to know how Lu Shanting was doing. Lu Shanting was sitting in the back, and she must have been seriously injured by that strong impact. But it was almost time for class, and a car accident had just happened. Everyone was gathering here, and the crowd was so heavy that she couldn't find Lu Shanting at all. Shanting, Lu Shanting, have you seen Lu Shanting? Chapter 15 Uncle Jiu, please help me. Mu Ning's face was covered in blood, and he grabbed someone and started asking. The man was frightened by Mu Ning's terrifying appearance. Who is Lu Shanting? The girl who was knocked away with me just now. Passers-by didn't understand Mu Ning's behavior. She was so badly injured, but she still had the mood to worry about others. At this time, someone shouted, this girl seems to be dead. Mu Ning's mind went blank for a moment and tears suddenly rolled out. The next second, she rushed to the source of the sound and pushed through the crowd. When Mu Ning saw the person being caught under the wheels, his heart suddenly stopped. The figure under the wheel was already a bloody mess, and dark red blood was flowing continuously to Mu Ning's feet. Lu Shanting. The sound of ambulances echoed throughout the main streets of Beijing City. Is this another fatal accident? The driver couldn't help but mutter, and said to the person in the back seat, Master Jiu, there's a traffic jam ahead. The man raised his wrist and checked the time. It's over. But people are waiting for help. The man lowered his eyes and played with his phone. You still have half an hour. If you are in the mood to care about others, you might as well think about how to keep your job. The driver felt a chill down his spine. Song Heng explained, Master Jiu is going overseas for a very important business negotiation. If he misses the plane, the loss will be immeasurable. The driver was sweating profusely and accelerated to overtake the ambulance. The ambulance stuck behind honked its horn frantically, making the driver break out in a cold sweat. After passing the congested intersection, the traffic finally became smooth. At this time, Song Heng received a call. Song Heng, where are you? It's not. Lu Shanting is in trouble. The roads are so congested right now. I'm afraid she won't make it to the hospital. On the phone, the girl's voice was intermittent with tears in her eyes. It took a lot of effort to tell the story completely. After hearing this, Song Heng frowned and glanced at the man in the back seat. Just as I was about to speak, my phone was snatched away by a desolate hand. Jiu Jin picked up the phone and raised his lips lazily. What trouble have you gotten into again? Beep, beep. The phone has been hung up. Jiu Jin's face darkened and he looked at Song Heng coldly. Speak. Song Heng shuddered. Miss Mu was in a car accident. She might be in the ambulance just now. Jiu Jin's heart sank suddenly. What happened to her? Miss Mu said on the phone that she had a car accident. Before Song Heng could finish his words, the man interrupted him in a deep voice. Notify the traffic police, close the road, and clear the way for her. Mu Ning accidentally pressed the end button and hung up the phone. Jiu Jin often goes on business trips, and whenever something happens to her while she is away, Song Heng helps her settle it. It was such a big thing, she didn't know who to tell. But she didn't want to alarm Jiu Jin. At this moment, she was in the ambulance, covered in blood. She didn't dare to look at the people on the stall, and she was trembling as she held the phone. Soon, the traffic police arrived and blocked the road to the hospital, with 2 police cars leading the way. Mu Ning looked at it and thought it must be Song Heng who helped. Within 10 minutes, the ambulance arrived at the hospital safely. Lu Shanting was quickly sent to the emergency room. Watching the door of the emergency room slowly close, Mu Ning's heart was still hanging in the air. She stood stiffly outside the door, her face pale, and she bit her lips. What lingered in my mind was the image of Lu Shanting being caught under the wheels. She squatted down weakly. There was a sound of footsteps coming from the other end of the corridor. Who are you? The 2 young nurses panicked and tried to stop the group of people, but were met with murderous looks from the bodyguards. They were too frightened to speak, and suddenly they felt a dangerous cold current coming. A cool and slender black figure passed by them quickly, shocking them so much that their eyes widened instantly. The man had a gloomy face and saw the girl sitting outside the emergency room as soon as he entered the room. His eyes darkened and he strode towards her. Mu Ning sat on the bench, head down, staring at the blood on his hands in a daze. Suddenly, a pair of long legs wrapped in black trousers appeared in front of me. She paused for a moment and slowly raised her head. Seeing the man's gloomy face, she trembled in fear. Uncle Jiu, why are you here? She forgot to tell Song Heng not to tell Jiu Jin. Mu Ning's palm-sized face was pale, with blood still flowing from his forehead. Jiu Jin felt a lump of fire stuck in his throat. Mu Ning, who allowed you to do this again? Mu Ning shuddered with fear and tears welled up in his eyes. Seeing that she was about to cry, Jiu Jin's heart softened and he picked her up. What's going on? Mu Ning pursed her lips and hugged him with her trembling hands. Uncle Jiu. I almost died, woo woo. It's me and Shanting. We were in a car accident. No, someone hit us. Wow, Shanting is in the emergency room. She was crushed under the wheels. She lost a lot of blood. I can't wake her up. Mu Ning's mind was in a mess and he tried hard to express himself clearly. Ji Yujin's heart was in a knot, his face still cold. Don't cry, save your energy, you will cry again when you get stitches later. He reached out his hand and patted Mu Ning's back. I'll take you to see a doctor. Mu Ning cried and shook her head, grabbing his hand. It was Yu Meng, she drove Lin Chiche's car and hit us. If anything happens to Shinting, I will not let her go. Ji Yujin raised his hand to wipe the blood off her face. The police will investigate this matter. We can't hand her over to the police. Mu Ning said anxiously. The Yu family has connections in the police station. Her family will definitely come forward to help her clear the name. She tugged at the corner of Ji Yujin's clothes and begged, Uncle Ji Yu, can you help me teach her a lesson? Go and take care of your injuries first, and we'll talk about other things later. Why wait until later? Can't you promise me now? Ji Yujin stared at the wound on her forehead that was still bleeding, his brows furrowed. Mu Ning didn't know what he was thinking and felt a little nervous. Ji Yujin was very busy all day and had no time to take care of her. In the past, whenever she had any problems, she would ask Song Heng to handle them. But this time things were different. If I don't agree, will you just let the blood on your forehead flow like this? He asked in a deep voice. Mu Ning touched his forehead and realized that he was bleeding. However, she was really afraid that Ji Yujin would sit back and do nothing and leave Yu Meng to the police. Letting the police handle it is equivalent to releasing the person not guilty, isn't it? Mu Ning swallowed and hummed like a mosquito. Ji Yujin's face darkened slightly. Are you threatening me? Sensing the danger in his eyes, Mu Ning lowered his head and said, no. After a while, she raised her head again and looked at him eagerly. Uncle Ji Yu, Yu Mengxiang wanted to kill me, but luckily Shinting helped me stop him, so I can stand here safely. If the Avildor does not receive the punishment she deserves and is left at large, she will only become more rampant. Who can guarantee that she will not drive her car to hit me again next time? A strange look flashed across Ji Yujin's face. He will not easily forgive anyone who hurts Mu Ning. But he also didn't like that Mu Ning threatened him with a face full of wounds. I'll say it again, you don't need to worry about that. What you should do now is to take care of your injuries. Mu Ning's eyes darkened and he clenched his fists. I also told you that if you don't agree, I won't go. Ji Yujin's dark eyes were like glacier in the cold winter, staring coldly at the top of her head. After a while, he sneered. Chapter 16. Is she Ji Yuyi's sweetheart? Okay, I promise. Mu Ning was stunned and almost thought he had heard it wrong. Thank you, Uncle Ji Yu. She believed that since Ji Yujin had promised, he would definitely do it. The next second, she was picked up by Ji Yujin and placed in the doctor's office. Mu Ning is treating the wound. Ji Yujin stood in the smoking area and lit a cigarette with a little annoyance. His cell phone rang and he saw the message and frowned. The police are here to look for Mu Ning. When the police were about to push the door open, Ji Yujin stopped them. Ning was frightened and is now emotionally unstable. Tell me if there is anything. The two policemen were very respectful. Mr. Ji Yu, the situation is like this. Yu Meng hit Miss Mu Ning and her friend with her car, but the Yu family provided evidence, so the situation has changed. We still have to trouble you to go to the police station and cooperate with the investigation. Ji Yujin narrowed his eyes and took a puff of cigarette. After hitting someone, you still dare to provide evidence to the police? He wanted to see what Yu Meng was capable of. After leaving the hospital, the police asked cautiously, Mr. Ji Yu, are you driving? Or take our car? Ji Yujin took a look and said calmly, my driver asked for leave. The driver asked for leave, doesn't that mean he wants to take their ride? They just asked tentatively. After all, it was not easy to ask Ji Yujin to go to the bureau to find out the situation. It was too unfair to ask him to ride in the police car. But this gentleman didn't mind at all. The policeman was ashamed and immediately and respectfully invited the gentleman into the car. As soon as Ji Yujin sat in the car, the space suddenly became cramped. The two policemen were sweating profusely. They felt too stressed to ride in the same car with Ji Yujin. They wondered whether Ji Yujin, who was used to riding in luxury cars, would be uncomfortable sitting in their little shabby car. On their way to the police station, Ji Yujin received a call from Mu Ning. The girl said in a sweet voice, Uncle Ji Yu, where have you been? I'm going to the company to take care of some things. Is the medicine ready? Yeah, it's been bandaged. Ask Song Heng to take you back. I want to stay in the hospital and wait for Shinting to come out of the surgery. Ji Yujin frowned. Be obedient. Okay, then you should come back early too. She said reluctantly in a delicate voice, remember to remember what you promised me. Ji Yujin lowered his eyes and looked at the blood stains remaining on his fingertips. He wanted to ask Mu Ning if it hurt, but she had already hung up the phone. The two policemen sitting in the front heard it very clearly. The voice on the phone was clearly a female voice. His expression had been cold and indifferent since he got in the car, but when he received the call, he revealed a hint of imperceptible tenderness. The young policeman jokingly said, "Is she Mr. Gu's sweetheart?" Ji Yujin did not answer, but raised his eyes and asked calmly, "How far is it?" The young policeman shrank his neck when he was stared at. The old policeman replied, "It will be done soon." Ji Yujin leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Bad girl, this is his first time riding in a police car, and she didn't ask any more questions, just thinking about her revenge. To be on the safe side, Songheng took Mu Ning for a comprehensive physical examination. Fortunately, apart from a slight concussion, the rest were just skin injuries. While treating the wound, Mu Ning gritted his teeth and managed to hold on without shedding a single tear. These injuries were caused by Yu Meng and were not worth her tears. Songheng watched silently from the side. After Mu Ning was bandaged, he exaggeratedly borrowed a wheelchair. Mu Ning refused to sit on it. After leaving the hospital, Songheng sent her back to the villa. Mu Ning carefully took a shower and changed his clothes. Staying alone in the villa, I felt inexplicably uneasy. She prayed that Ji Yujin would not let Yu Meng go easily because she was hit. Mu Ning wanted to wait for Ji Yujin to come back and ask him how things were going, but he ended up waiting until late at night and fell asleep due to sleepiness. Early the next morning, Mu Ning suddenly opened his eyes, gasping for breath, with tears in the corners of his eyes. She dreamed that Lu Shinting died after failed rescue efforts. Fortunately, it was just a dream. Mu Ning was frightened and took out his cell phone from under the pillow, wanting to ask about Lu Shinting's situation, but he saw a piece of news. It turns out that the perpetrator is innocent, and the victim is the real murderer. Mu Ning flipped through the pages and his expression changed immediately. What happened? Mu Ning woke up instantly. I re-watched the news in disbelief. She was not mistaken, Yu Meng was acquitted, and Lu Shinting became the biggest suspect. Why is this happening? She clenched her cell phone, threw back the quilt, ran out of the room and went downstairs. On the stairs, she saw the elegant and noble man sitting in the restaurant eating breakfast. Uncle Jiyu. The man looked up when he heard the voice, and a girl in a white dress and pajamas rushed towards him. He stretched out his hand and caught Mu Ning. He glanced down at her and frowned, "Where are your shoes?" Mu Ning no longer cared about anything else and turned on his phone to show it to Ji Yujin. Uncle Jiyu, Yu Meng was actually released without charge. Ji Yujin glanced at her indifferently, put her on the chair next to him, and poured her a glass of milk. She is a murderer, but she has the nerve to sue Shinting and even incite the media to publish such misleading opinions. Mu Ning chattered incessantly, but the man next to him seemed unusually calm. Mu Ning gave him a strange look. Uncle Jiyu, didn't you go to see Yu Meng yesterday? She came to see me. What? Mu Ning was surprised, then how come she is still fine? Didn't he promise to help her teach Yu Meng a lesson? Don't worry about this. I've already asked for leave from school for you. You should stay at home and recover from your injuries during this time. Mu Ning looked at the man who was eating breakfast slowly and thought his reaction was abnormal. Uncle Jiyu, didn't Yu Meng tell you something and you believed her lies? Chapter 17. Don't treat him as an outsider. She didn't say anything to me. But you've been in a lot of trouble lately. Ji Yujin's tone was cold, with a hint of reprimand. Mu Ning was stunned for a moment, puzzled. No, Uncle Jiyu, it was clearly me who was hit by someone. How did it become me who caused the trouble? Ji Yujin glanced at Mu Ning and said nothing. Mu Ning was a little anxious. What happened, Uncle Jiyu? Songheng, who was standing nearby, explained, Ms. Mu, the police went to investigate yesterday. Yu Meng provided the police with a video of you and Lu Shinting destroying Lin Chichi's brakes. The school security guard testified for her, and a passerby filmed it. It was you who hit Yu Meng first. What? Mu Ning looked at Songheng in confusion. Songheng continued, it's rumored in school that you and Lin Chichi have a bad relationship and often quarrel. This time Yuan Lushenting damaged Lin Chichi's brakes, causing them to fail and crash into you. So Yu Meng was charged with negligent injury, but Yuan Lushenting were charged with premeditated murder. If Master Jiyu hadn't stepped in to help you settle it, you would probably have gone to jail. What murder? What jail time? Mu Ning felt like he was still sleepy, his ears were buzzing and he couldn't hear a single word. Wait, I admit that we wanted to scratch Lin Chichi's car to vent our anger, but before we could do that, we were discovered by the security guards. Then what? Jiyu Jin asked indifferently. Then we ran into Lin Chichi and Yu Meng. Yu Meng was furious because her wig was stolen and she drove into us. Do you think the police will believe it? But it's true. The police want evidence. Yu Meng has both witnesses and material evidence. In fact, Yu Meng did not see Jiyu Jin. It was the police who showed him the video. On the phone, Jiyu Jin asked about Yu Mengxiang's situation. Yu Meng put forward a condition, asking him not to interfere in this matter, and she would not report Mu Ning, otherwise she would immediately expose Mu Ning on the internet. How could someone like Yu Meng have the qualifications to negotiate terms with Jiyu Jin? But in order to protect Mu Ning from harm, he agreed temporarily. Evidence? Where did Yu Meng get the evidence? Song Heng said, Ms. Mu, when Yuan Lushenting went to scratch the car, the surveillance camera in the parking lot captured you. But didn't I tell you? We didn't touch Lin Chichi's car. Mu Ning was a little excited. Where's the video? Show me the video. Yu Meng must have tampered with the video. Ms. Mu, don't worry. The police are still investigating and have not convicted Lushenting. Yu Meng only seems to be fine for the time being. Mu Ning couldn't calm down. On what basis could Yu Meng clear herself and accuse them? Evidence can be fabricated, Uncle Jiyu, you must believe me. Jiyu Jin didn't say whether he believed it or not, he just asked calmly, why did you scratch Lin Chichi's car? Things had come to this point, and she had nothing to hide. Because Lin Chichi threw my battery into the pond, causing me to go home in the rain, and she always drove her Maserati to humiliate me. So you wanted a car a while ago, because you wanted to humiliate me back. She always gives me trouble, and I don't want her to look down on me. Jiyu Jin's expression turned cold. You don't have a mouth. What? He sneered, when I asked you why you wanted a car, you kept being vague. How many times did you get angry with me because of this? Mu Ning wanted to explain. If you want a car, why don't you just tell me clearly? Did I usually give you less? I can satisfy your desire to win and your vanity. What's the point of a mere Maserati? Did you have to go through so much trouble to play tricks on me, stealing a car, being angry, and almost losing your life? Mu Ning was scolded so harshly that he was a little confused. Only after I reacted did I understand what Jiyu Jin meant. She swallowed the words in her throat, clenched her slender white fingers, and stopped talking. Jiyu Jin suddenly realized that he seemed to be a little out of control just now. He rubbed his eyebrows and wondered why he was telling her this. But he seemed to be angry and his face turned a little blue. In order to ease the embarrassment, Song Heng explained, Miss Mu, Master Jiyu didn't mean that. He meant that if you have any problem, you can tell him directly and don't treat him as an outsider. Last time you stole Master Gu's car and crashed the yard, he has been very upset and worried that something might happen to you. Okay. Jiyu Jin interrupted and looked at Mu Ning, this matter ends here, don't mention it again, and you are not allowed to get involved anymore. Stay at home and recover from your injuries. Do what you need to do and don't cause any trouble for me. Uncle Jiyu, Shinting has been slandered as a suspect, but she is still unconscious in the hospital. I don't want her to suffer such an injustice. Uncle Jiyu, can you help her? It's troublesome enough to take care of you, and I still have to take care of others. Do you think I'm idle all day long? Jiyu Jin was still angry. Mu Ning, who originally wanted to plead for Lu Shinting, swallowed his words and lowered his eyes in disappointment. I know. After she left, Jiyu Jin's eyes turned cold. Song Heng, investigate the Yu family and give me the relevant information about the Yu family. Song Heng agreed and went to do his work. He sighed helplessly when he left. Mr. Jiyu probably wanted to protect Miss Mu Ning and didn't want her to get involved. But he could have just said it directly. Why was he being so stubborn? Jiyu Jin sat in the living room smoking and watching the news with a gloomy look on his face. Mu Ning didn't even eat breakfast and locked himself in the room. She saw a notice on the school's official account criticizing Lu Shinting for being suspended for investigation due to suspected murder. Mu Ning scrolled down and saw some interesting comments. Lu Shinting is shooting herself in the foot, hurting others and herself. The two female supporting characters became victims, they really deserved it. Yu Meng also posted a Weibo post, "If I had known the brakes were not working, I would not have driven the car. I was very frightened after this incident. I am really sorry. I will never drive a car again." Then she apologized in a bitchy way, saying that she had nightmares at night because of it, so she asked the doctor to prescribe some medicine. A photo of the medicine list was attached below. Meng, don't blame yourself. We believe you are innocent. It's all Mu Ning and Lu Shinting's fault. That Mu Ning is obviously the same kind as Lu Shinting, working hand in glove with her. Maybe this was Mu Ning who ordered this. Lin Shiqi pretended to comfort Yu Meng. Meng, you must be scared, right? It's because Mu Ning was jealous of me that you got involved. I'm sorry, but I believe the law will punish them and give you justice. The more Mu Ning watched, the angrier and more upset he became. Things have been completely turned upside down. Yu Meng and Lin Shiqi have become victims, and she and Lu Shinting have become the cursed villains. However, she still noticed that her name was not mentioned in the criticism notice. She knew without thinking that it must have been done by Ji Yujin. She should thank Ji Yujin for saving her, but what about Lu Shinting? In Beijing, Lu Shinting's family was just a petty bourgeois family, while the Yu family belonged to the upper middle class, far superior to the Lu family. Since Yu Meng can't deal with her, he will deal with Lu Shinting. If Lu Shinting hadn't been sitting in the back seat and helped her block some of the impact, she would be the one lying unconscious in a hospital right now. What's more, Lu Shinting was her best friend. If she lost her, she would never forgive herself for the rest of her life. What to do? Ji Yujin didn't want to get involved in this matter, and no one could help them. If Yu Meng uses her family's influence to make that fake video confirm Shinting's crime, Shinting will go to jail. Chapter 18 I May Never Wake Up. In the afternoon, Mu Ning went to the hospital. Lu Shinting's parents were also there. They are both senior executives of a company. One of them looks elegant and intellectual, while the other looks cheerful and steady. Both of them are highly educated and have the temperament of an upper-class person. Uncle, aunt. Mu Ning called them politely. Mu Ning often visited Lu Shinting's home. The Lu couple liked Mu Ning very much and treated her like a half-daughter. Mother Lu looked very haggard at this time. Ning, what happened that day? Tell auntie that the police have found us. There are bad rumors everywhere now. I don't believe that my Ting would do such a thing. Mother Lu was already sad enough, and Mu Ning didn't want to upset her by telling her what happened that day, so he simply said that they were slandered. What kind of family can raise two children with such bad character? They should go to jail, be locked up and educated properly, and not be allowed to come out and do evil. Mother Lu sat on the bench, feeling heartbroken. She was always gentle, and even her scolding was soft. Lin Shiqi and Yu Meng are so hateful and they deserve to die. It is obvious that they are the ones who committed the murder, but they can rely on their powerful family background to smear and fabricate facts. As for them, they didn't even have the room to resist. The police station had been bribed by the Yu family. No matter how she testified, no one believed her. Ning, can't you ask Mr. Ji Yu for help? Mother Lu begged her with red eyes. It's hard to describe Mu Ning in words. How could she tell Mother Lu that she had already begged Ji Yujin? But he didn't agree. When Mother Lu saw that Mu Ning seemed to be hesitant to speak, she already knew the answer. I'm sorry, auntie. It's okay, Ning. Mr. Ji Yu is a cold and indifferent person. He doesn't like to meddle in other people's business. It takes a lot of face to ask him to help. We don't have a close relationship with him. We just rely on your good relationship with Ting. He has no reason to help Ting. Mother Lu expressed her understanding and came to comfort Mu Ning even though she was obviously very sad. Mu Ning felt very uncomfortable. At this time, the nurse came over and said, "Family members of the patient, you can go visit now." Mu Ning went to visit Lu Shinting with the Lu couple. In the intensive care unit, Lu Shinting's body was full of tubes. Apart from their beeping sound from their machines, it was eerily quiet. Mu Ning was wearing antibacterial clothing and reached out to touch Lu Shinting's face, but he didn't dare. Lu Shinting is like a porcelain doll now, and she is really afraid that it will break if touched. After leaving the ward, they went to see Lu Shinting's attending physician together. Doctor, when will she wake up? Mother Lu asked anxiously. The doctor looked at the medical records and frowned. It's hard to say now. The patient is still in intensive care. We have to wait until his vital signs are normal. The patient has a head injury, so it's possible. The doctor paused and said, it's possible that he will never wake up. You should be prepared. Mother Lu covered her mouth, her eyes went dark and she almost fainted. Luckily Father Lu supported her. How could this happen? Ting Ting is still so young, and she is the only precious daughter in our family. If she can't wake up, how can I live? Woo woo. Well, the matter has not been completely determined yet. I believe that our daughter will get through this and wake up. Don't be too sad. Right now we need to help our daughter deal with other things. Mu Ning, who was standing aside, looked pale. She left the doctor's office and returned to the ward, looking through the glass at the person lying inside. My heart felt like it was being strangled by a hand and I felt so uncomfortable that I couldn't breathe. The man who was originally full of energy and vowed to take revenge on her, if he knew that he was being slandered like this, he would definitely jump up, slap the other person in the face and scold him for several days without repeating the same thing. But now she can only lie here lifeless. However, the two culprits acted pitiful in school, which attracted the concern and comfort of their classmates. Mu Ning clicked on Yumeng's Weibo and saw that she had updated a post today, just recovered from a serious illness, walked out of the haze, celebration, cheers. Below is a photo of Yumeng sitting in the very upscale Yinshang restaurant by the sea, with a bright smile on her plastic surgery internet celebrity face. The comment section was full of flattering comments. Mu Ning clenched his fists and stared coldly at the smile on Yumeng's face. Shinting is still lying here, why can Yumeng live happily outside? Since the law cannot punish them and Jiyu Jiyin will not help her, she can only find a solution on her own. In the evening, Mu Ning went directly to a bar called Jin Sui. She had asked around and found out that this was a place Yumeng often visited. The music in the bar was deafening, and men and women in cool clothes were hugging each other's waists and swaying around. Mu Ning walked through the crowd and found a seat in the corner. From here you can see clearly who is coming in and out of the door. She ordered a glass of sparkling water and waited for Yumeng to appear. Little sister, you come here to play by yourself, do you want your brother to accompany you? A man saw the beautiful and elegant girl and came up to say hello. Get lost. Mu Ning glanced at him coldly. The man didn't expect Mu Ning to be so fierce, and he walked away embarrassedly. Mu Ning turned around and saw Yumeng. Yumeng walked to the bar holding a man's hand. The two ordered drinks and began flirting. Soon, Yumeng fell on the man and laughed heartily. This hurt Mu Ning's eyes. Mu Ning suppressed the soreness in his eyes, called the waiter and ordered a glass of wine. Did that girl over there see that? Pour this glass of wine on her and the money will be yours. Mu Ning took out a stack of red banknotes. The waiter's eyes lit up, as if he had never seen so much money before, and immediately took the money and went to the bar. Yumeng was still flirting with the man when a waiter passed by her and accidentally bumped into her, spilling wine on her. She screamed in panic. Yumeng's skirt was soaked with wine. She stood up in a panic, anger instantly spreading in her eyes. What happened to you? Are you blind? Why don't you look at the road when you walk? The waiter quickly apologized. I'm sorry, miss, I didn't mean to do that. I just sprained my ankle accidentally. I'm so sorry. Yumeng wanted to get angry, but the man held her arm and said, Okay, Meng, why are you angry with a waiter? We have more important things to do tonight. Don't let such a blind man ruin your mood. Yumeng pouted, gave the man a slap and said delicately, I'll go wash it up, brother Anhua, wait for me here. After saying that, she glared at the waiter, picked up her bag and walked towards the bathroom. Mu Ning, who was sitting in the corner, stared coldly at Yumeng's back, then stood up and followed him. Damn it! My newly bought skirt was ruined by a blind dog. If brother Anwar wasn't here, I would definitely slap him twice. There was a sound of cursing coming from the toilet. Yumeng was wiping the wine stains on his body with paper and had no idea that a figure was approaching. I've been so unlucky lately. I've run into those two bitches Mu Ning and Lu Shinting. They've made me unlucky all the time. Damn it, go to hell. Who are you calling a bitch? A cold voice suddenly sounded behind him. Yu Meng paused and looked up to see a gloomy face in the mirror. Chapter 19 Kill You Bitch. Her expression froze, and then she shouted, Mu Ning. What are you doing, ouch? Before Yu Meng could react, Mu Ning quickly grabbed her hair. After having her wig pulled off last time, she tied the wig more securely this time. When Mu Ning pulled like this, Yu Meng's scalp instantly went numb with pain. Stop, Mu Ning. What do you want to do? Don't you know what I want to do? Mu Ning exerted force, and Yu Meng's neck tilted back. You damn bitch, let me go. Yu Meng screamed. Let go. Okay, go and turn yourself into the police, clarify the matter with the media, then kneel down in front of Lu Shinting and kowtow to her to apologize. You want me to turn myself in? Dream on. Although Yu Meng's face turned pale from the pain, his scarlet eyes were full of viciousness. Mu Ning, if someone hadn't secretly helped you, you would be in jail now. Mu Ning's face was cold and he pursed his lips. Yu Meng laughed contemptuously. You should be thankful that I let you go, otherwise, I would have made you and Lu Shinting spend the rest of your life in jail together. Mu Ning slapped her hard, and then she laughed sarcastically. Yu Meng, you are in my hands now, don't think I dare not touch you. Yu Meng was slapped, and his expression became crazy. Touch me? Mu Ning, you don't know the Yu family in Beijing? That's right, a lowly country bumpkin like you, how can you know about the upper class? I tell you, my family has connections in the police station. If you dare to touch me, I will kill you. Mu Ning sneered in his heart. Mu Ning, I order you to let me go. Otherwise I will never let you go. Mu Ning is small in stature but has strong hands, and he almost lifted Yu Meng's scalp. You won't let go, right? Okay. Then just pull hard. I'll go to the hospital and find out if you're seriously injured. I'll sentence you to 3 to 5 years, and then I'll visit you in prison. Yu Meng gasped in pain, but his words were still mean, and his contemptuous smile was full of provocation. Where's your best friend? Oh, by the way, I heard she's still in the hospital. How is she? Is it serious? Is she going to die? It would be fine if she dies, but if she doesn't, she'll have to go to jail. Bang! A muffled sound. Mu Ning grabbed Yu Meng's head and banged it against the wall. Blood immediately flowed from Yu Meng's head. However, Mu Ning did not stop. He banged her head against the wall again and again, like pounding garlic. Bang! 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 Oh! Stop it! Yu Meng felt like her brains were about to come out. She waved her hands around, trying to hit Mu Ning, and her sharp nails scratched Mu Ning's face. Mu Ning let go and Yu Meng collapsed to the ground. She looked at her scratched face in the mirror, smiled disdainfully, and looked down at Yu Meng. How does it feel to be hit? Yu Meng's eyes went dark and it took him a long time to recover. She felt a sweet and fishy smell and touched her head. She was immediately frightened and screamed, Blood, blood! I'm bleeding! Yu Meng was extremely frightened. She covered her head tightly and slowly knelt on the ground. I beg you, let me go, let me go. Mu Ning's eyes became even more ruthless. I'll let you go, will you let Lu Shinting go? She grabbed Yu Meng's neck and said, when you drove your car to hit us, do you dare to say that you didn't want to kill us? Yu Meng was terrified. Mu Ning, what do you want to do? Do you want to kill me? Oh, kill you? That's too easy for you. You knocked Shinting into the hospital and she is now unconscious, and you still want her to go to jail for you. Yu Meng, you really deserve to die. Since the police can't catch you, I will make you feel the pain of Lu Shinting even if it means both our lives are in danger. Mu Ning is not afraid of death. She is an orphan and has no one to worry about. Yu Meng's face flushed red, and she couldn't breathe. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. I was very scared after I hit someone. It was Lin Shiqi. She provided me with the video and the witnesses. Yes, that's right, it was her. All this was her idea. She didn't know what was going on at the time, and after hearing some of Lin Shiqi's words, she couldn't control the anger in her heart at all. After hitting someone, she immediately came to her senses and was terribly scared. Lin Shiqi told her not to be afraid and helped her find a way to escape punishment. She felt that Lin Shiqi was her life-saving straw. Not only did she not abandon her when something happened, she also always stood by her and helped her. Mu Ning narrowed his eyes dangerously. She knew that this matter was related to Lin Shiqi. Call Lin Chichi and ask her to come over now. I. Yu Meng raised her head, a little hesitant. Don't want to fight. Mu Ning smiled. I don't mind smashing your head. Yu Meng was so scared that his neck shrank and he quickly said, I'll hit you, I'll hit you. I'm sorry, Chichi, although you are very nice to me, in order to survive, I have to drag you down with me. Hey, Chichi. What's the matter, Meng Meng, why are you still awake so late? Yeah, I'm still out drinking and I'm drunk, can you? Before she finished speaking, she was interrupted by Lin Chichi, drink less alcohol, alcohol is not good for girls. You drink so much, I am worried about your health. Did you encounter something unhappy? Lin Chichi's gentle concern made Yu Meng's throat feel like it was blocked by a ball of cotton. What's wrong? Meng Meng, did something happen to you? Or is there something you can't talk about? I heard your voice is rough, did you just cry? Lin Chichi's gentle and caring voice made Yu Meng completely speechless. She felt so despicable. Chichi was so good to her, yet she still felt sorry for Chichi. Mu Ning warned her in a low voice, let her come over. Yu Meng's neck shrank, and Lin Chichi's anxious and worried voice rang in his ears, Meng Meng, tell me if you encounter anything unhappy. Why do you drink so much? I'm really worried about you. Where are you now? Send me your location and I'll pick you up right away. Don't come. Chichi, Mu Ning asked me to trick you into coming here. Yu Meng shouted suddenly. Mu Ning frowned and immediately tried to grab the phone. During the fight between the two, Yu Meng grabbed Mu Ning's hand and bit it, and the phone fell out. Mu Ning frowned in pain and kicked Yu Meng hard. Yu Meng screamed, fell to the ground and rolled a few times. What? Meng Meng, are you okay? Hello? Hello. Mu Ning, what do you want to do to Meng Meng? Let Meng Meng go. Come to me if you have anything to say. Mu Ning walked over, picked up the phone and put it to his ear, Yu Meng is in my hands now. If you want to save her, come to Jinsui alone and don't call the police. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Then he walked over, squatted in front of Yu Meng, raised his lips and sneered sarcastically, I didn't expect that you were so affectionate to Lin Chichi, but she doesn't seem to treat you as a real sister. Mu Ning, stop sowing discord. How can a vulgar and lowly person like you understand the relationship between Chichi and I? We are closer than real sisters. Mu Ning laughed when he heard this. How much does Yu Meng need friends? She actually treats Lin Chichi as her own sister. Maybe she is just wishful thinking and is being taken advantage of. She is even counting money for others. Okay, then I'll wait for Lin Chichi here. Let me see if Lin Chichi will come to save you. Mu Ning grabbed Yu Meng's hair and tried to drag her to the cubicle. There was a scream at the door. A drunk woman who came to the toilet saw this scene and ran away in panic. Help! Someone is killing me. Chapter 20 Yu Meng's parents came to support. The drunk woman kept shouting all the way and soon attracted more people, and the bar security also quickly rushed over. She was carried out together with Yu Meng. In the end, they didn't wait for Lin Chichi, but waited for the police. In the police station, Yu Meng covered her head and sobbed, she beat people up and wanted to kill me, police officer, you must do something for me, woo-woo. Mu Ning sat on a chair in the corner, staring coldly at Yu Meng who was complaining to the police. Can you please be quiet? You said she hit you, but you were the only one who was injured. Aren't the scratches and bites on her body caused by you? The policeman, who was annoyed by the noise, couldn't help but scold Yu Meng. Yu Meng immediately denied it, I didn't cause her injury. Who knows which man she was with in bed and got scratched. Anyway, she has been promiscuous for more than a day or two. Mu Ning thought that this was the police station, so he resisted the urge to go up and hit Yu Meng and lowered his head. She looked at the wound on the back of her hand and felt a little regretful. I regretted that I was too lenient and didn't send Yu Meng to the intensive care unit. Where? What happened to my daughter? Before I saw anyone, I heard a sharp female voice, accompanied by the crisp sound of high heels tapping. The lady had a graceful look on her face, was wearing luxurious fur, and had two huge pearls hanging from her ears. She was covered in sparkling jewelry, as if she wanted to show off all her possessions, like a string of light bulbs. Auntie, don't be anxious, be careful with the steps. A sweet female voice came to my ears again. Mu Ning looked and saw that it was Lin Chichi who had arrived late. She really is Yu Meng's good sister. She comes at this time. Lin Chichi helped the lady into the police station, followed by a serious and rigid middle-aged man. The man had a shiny head and looked about 70% similar to Yu Meng. Dad, Mom. When Yu Meng saw her parents coming, she immediately ran over crying. Oh, my baby, how did you become like this? The lady exclaimed and quickly hugged Yu Meng in her arms. It was her. She beat me, pulled my hair, and smashed my head against the wall. Yu Meng pointed at Mu Ning and pulled her hair apart with her hands. Look, I'm bleeding a lot. Oh my god. How could he be injured so seriously? The woman screamed in horror and almost fainted. Yu Jingqian, your daughter was beaten up like this by a little jerk like that. Come and have a look, Mengmeng's head is bleeding. Father Yu's face turned pale and he pointed at Mu Ning. You are the one who beat my daughter. Mu Ning admitted frankly, yes, I beat her. Father Yu choked, you. Mu Ning continued expressionlessly, she hit me and my friend with her car. He is still in the intensive care unit, but she put all the blame on my friend and incited public opinion to curse my friend to death. Do you think I should hit her? You're talking nonsense. It was you and Lu Shinting who damaged Chichi's brakes first. I couldn't stop the car, so I accidentally hit you. It's clearly karma. As soon as Yu Meng finished speaking, Yu's mother shouted, Police comrade, you heard it all, right? She actually wanted to kill my daughter all along. She is so vicious at such a young age. Fortunately, someone saved Meng Meng today, otherwise she would have been beaten to death by this little jerk. Police comrade, this kind of person cannot be tolerated and must be severely punished. The police officer frowned and said, they fought in the toilet. There was no surveillance. We need to learn more about the specific situation. When Yu's mother heard this, her eyes widened and she shouted, how else can we know this? Look, my daughter's injuries are the evidence. Yes, I can testify to that. Lin Chichi stood up and said, I received a call from Meng Meng tonight. Meng Meng was very strange on the phone, hesitating and stammering. I felt something was wrong at the time. Thanks to Meng Meng's reminder, I realized that she threatened Meng Meng to trick me into going to Jinsui just to kill me. Father and Mother Yu turned pale immediately, go on, go on. Later, I heard her beating Meng Meng and forcing her to kowtow and apologize. The phone was filled with Meng Meng's screams and pleas for mercy. I was terrified at the time. Father Yu's face became even gloomier, while Mother Yu covered her mouth in shock and cried and wailed, So my Meng Meng was abused like this. Mu Ning sneered, Lin Chichi, have you finished making up this exaggerated story? What I said is the truth. The truth. Then let me ask you, since I called you to come and save her, why didn't you come? Aren't you worried about her? Yu Meng also reacted and asked in surprise, yes, Chichi, why did you come now? Mu Ning, please stop trying to sow discord between us. Meng Meng and I are like sisters. When I found out that you abused Meng Meng, I was extremely anxious and wanted to save her, but I accidentally fell down the stairs and sprained my ankle. I was afraid of wasting time, so I quickly called my uncle and aunt to inform them. I'm sorry, Meng Meng. It's my fault for being careless and coming a step late. Fortunately, you were rescued, otherwise I would never forgive myself. As Lin Chichi spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. She held Yu Meng's hand, her face full of guilt and regret. I don't blame you, Chichi. I know you have good intentions. All of this was caused by Mu Ning. She wanted to kill me. She wanted me to apologize to Lu Shinting. After listening to what happened, Yu's mother questioned Mu Ning aggressively, what else do you have to say now? I have nothing to say, it's Yu Meng. Bang! Before Mu Ning could finish his words, a loud slap hit him in the face. So you admit that you hit my daughter? Humph, you dare to hit my daughter. I'm going to pay you back on behalf of my daughter. I'm also going to teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents. Yu's mother screamed sharply and raised her hand to hit him. He was stopped by a police officer nearby. This is a police station, don't do anything. Yu's mother was pulled aside angrily. After being slapped, Mu Ning's cheek quickly swelled up, and a red 5-finger mark appeared on it. It was burning and half of my face was numb. Har, even Jiu Jin had never been willing to hit her like this. Mu Ning wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, You are not worthy enough to teach me a lesson on behalf of my parents. Listen to what she said, what an uneducated person. Yu's mother rushed over angrily, pointed at Mu Ning's nose and yelled, I'm telling you, you're not done with beating my daughter today. I'm going to make you pay the price. Let's see how long you can keep being so arrogant. Chapter 21. Jiu Jin came to support her. All right. Stop arguing, the policeman slammed the table. It was probably a bit unbearable to see so many people bullying a little girl, so he asked Mu Ning, where are the family members I asked you to notify? It would have been better if he didn't mention it. Once he mentioned it, Mu Ning felt even more upset. She turned her head away. No family. No family. A wild child. No wonder he is so uneducated. Yu's mother sneered. When she heard that Mu Ning had no family, she knew that today's matter would be easy to handle. Zhengqian, you decide how to handle this matter. Father Yu immediately received Mother Yu's gaze. My daughter can't be beaten in vain. A dangerous person with an antisocial personality like her must be locked up and properly educated. Father Yu gave Mu Ning a fierce look, then turned around and handed the policeman a cigarette. Your chief and I are old classmates. I thought it would be better not to disturb him at this late hour. When the policeman heard that it was related to the chief, he quickly took the cigarette with both hands and said, Hey, Mr. Yu, if you have any instructions, just tell me. Since there is no family member to take care of it, you guys can handle this matter. I'll take my daughter to get her injuries checked. You guys should review and judge the case. I believe you won't let me down. Who said she has no family? Suddenly a cold voice was heard, and before anyone could be seen, a chill rushed in. Mu Ning's heart skipped a beat. When I raised my eyelids, I saw a tall and handsome man walking into the door. He was wearing a dark suit, his eyebrows and eyes were cold, and his deep features reflected a cold arc. This is Jiu Jin. Father and Mother Yu widened their eyes. Lin Chichi also covered her mouth unconsciously. Anyone who is active in Beijing knows the famous Jiu Yi. I had only seen him in the news before, but this was the first time he appeared in person. He was much deeper and sharper than the one on the screen, and his aura was much stronger. What is he doing here? No, he just said, whose family were they? Jiu Jin didn't look at anyone. His dark eyes passed through everyone and fell directly on Mu Ning's face. Feeling that gloomy gaze, Mu Ning's heart skipped a beat again. Jiu Jin looks scary when he is angry. She lowered her head silently, trying to avoid his sight. The man's gaze fell squarely on Mu Ning's swollen left cheek. He frowned deeply, his eyes filled with icy anger. Ning, come here. Ning? Everyone's eyes widened, and they subconsciously looked at Mu Ning. Jiu Jin called her Ning? What kind of relationship would warrant such an intimate name? Mu Ning shuddered and secretly glanced at the cold and noble man. Under the strong pressure, she stood up reluctantly and moved forward step by step. There was still a distance of 1 or 2 meters, and Mu Ning didn't dare to get closer. She felt the terrifying aura from Jiu Jin. A hand suddenly grabbed her and pulled her forward. Mu Ning stumbled into the man's chest. This time, Jiu Jin could see more clearly. He narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at the slap mark on her face, anger running rampant in his body. For a moment, the police station was eerily quiet and no one dared to speak. Excuse me, are you? A young policeman was about to ask, but was interrupted by an old policeman beside him. Master Jiu, why are you here? Jiu Jin glanced at the old policeman, then turned his gaze back to Mu Ning's face. He lifted her chin, stroked her face with his fingers, and asked, who hit you? Mu Ning turned around and pointed at Yu's mother, Yu's mother, who had been stunned for a long time, saw Mu Ning pointing at her and subconsciously dodged to the side. You, what nonsense are you talking about? Who hit you? Oh, was it my face that hit your slap? With so many people witnessing it, Yu's mother had no way of making excuses. She just hit the girl, and there was no need for her to be afraid. But for some reason, she felt a chill down her spine and swallowed. What's wrong with me hitting you? You were the one who hit my daughter first. As he spoke, his breathing became weaker unconsciously. Jiu Jin's eyes were so eerie and terrifying that it was hard to ignore them. They were all speculating about the relationship between Jiu Jin and Mu Ning. How could a low-class person like Mu Ning, who has no parents and no parents, possibly curry favor with Jiu Jin? Even if it was seduction, Jiu Jin would not be attracted to her. Could it be relatives or friends? That's impossible. They couldn't guess it, and for a moment they dared not speak out for fear of saying the wrong thing. Lin Chichi stared at Ji Yujin blankly, her dazed look, as if her soul had been sucked away by him. No matter what the relationship between Mu Ning and Ji Yujin is, since he can stand up for Mu Ning, their relationship must be extraordinary. Thinking of this, she glared at Mu Ning fiercely, her eyes full of jealousy. Master Ji Yu, it's like this, they had a little dispute. The police explained the situation again. Mu Ning did beat someone, and the circumstances were quite serious. In addition, after the last incident, Mu Ning was completely at a disadvantage. If Ji Yujin had not come, Mu Ning would have been detained according to legal procedures, so it was quite troublesome. The police looked at the people on both sides, intending to negotiate and mediate. They are all young and hot-tempered. Miss Mu did hit her too hard and caused her head to bleed. How about this, let them apologize to each other and let it go. Mr. Ji Yu, do you think it's okay? Before Ji Yujin could say anything, Yu's mother gave up first. No, I don't accept apologies or mediation. My Meng Meng can't be beaten for nothing. I must get an explanation. Yu Minxiang can ask for an explanation, but you should ask her to give Lu Shinting an explanation first. Mu Ning broke free from the man's hand and wanted to confront Yu's mother. A hand suddenly grabbed the back of her collar and pulled her back. Mu Ning took 2 steps back uncontrollably, and when he looked up, he saw the displeasure on Ji Yujin's face. Be good and don't cause me any trouble. Receiving the warning signal in his eyes, Mu Ning closed his mouth in disappointment. Ji Yujin let go of Mu Ning and said calmly, "What do you want to say?" Yu's mother took advantage of the fact that Yu Meng was beaten and felt that she was right. She raised her proud face and said, "We can't beat this man for nothing. We can mediate, but we have to fight him back first." Par. Before he could finish his words, Ji Yujin picked up a book on the table and slapped Yu Mu hard on the face. Chapter 22, Slapping Yu's Mother's Face. The action happened so fast that no one could react. Yu's mother tilted her face, stunned, and took a long time to come to her senses. The rest of the people seemed frightened as well, their mouths opened in shock. Ji Yujin, how could he even dare to hit a woman? Mu Ning didn't find it strange. Ji Yujin wanted to teach someone a lesson, no matter whether you were a man or a woman. But she was a little surprised. He told her not to cause trouble, so why did he start to fight? Is this statement okay? Ji Yujin had a faint smile on his lips, but his eyes were cold and sharp. He looked down at Yu's mother, emitting a cold aura. Yu's mother stood in front of him like a fat and ridiculous maggot. Yu's mother shouted in shock and anger, he hit someone. He actually hit me, why don't you stop him quickly? The policemen glanced at each other, but no one moved. When Yu's father saw his wife being beaten, he wanted to rush over, but Ji Yujin looked at him coldly and said, "Let's see who dares to stop us." There were several black Mercedes parked outside the police station, and more than a dozen bodyguards got out, forming a dark mass that blocked the entrance. Father Yu suddenly paused. Jingqian, Wu, please come and save me, I'm so scared, he wants to beat me to death, Ji Yujin raised his hand and slapped Yu's mother's face again with a slap. The movements were graceful, but the force was fierce. Red gauze appeared on Yu's mother's face and blood came from the corners of her mouth. Everyone was terrified. You dare to hit me? This is the police station. What's wrong with the police station? When you beat her, did you care that this was the police station? If you don't care, I care even less. Relying on the connections she had in the police station, Yu's mother arrogantly beat Mu Ning without any fear of getting into trouble. She is not afraid, so how could Ji Yujin be afraid? Ji Yujin's attitude of disregarding rules and laws and being indifferent was elegant and arrogant. He raised his hand and slapped Yu's mother in the face again, and Yu's mother could only take it. Mu Ning noticed a detail. Ji Yujin hit Yu's mother's face with a book. It was obvious that he didn't want to have physical contact and was afraid of dirtying his hands. This man has always been a germaphobe and very aloof. Seeing that no one could stop this madman, Yu's mother was so scared that she stepped back, tripped over a chair, and fell flat on her face. Ji Yujin curled his lips slightly and threw the book down. Mu Ning glanced at it. The overbearing president kills the White Lotus. People who read this book have good vision. Ji Yujin patted his sleeves, feeling tired, and pulled a chair to sit down. Get up, lie down and talk to me, I have to keep my head down. These words are obviously said to the mother. Yu Meng quickly helped Yu's mother up. Yu's father reacted and immediately smiled and said, Master Jiyu, don't be angry. It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Jiyu Jiyin snorted softly. Song Heng handed him a wet wipe and he wiped it slowly. Seeing Yu's father's face full of fake smile, he suddenly remembered the information Song Heng gave him. Yu's company encountered some troubles in a new project they were developing recently. So he smiled friendly and said, I've seen you before at the bidding meeting for the Blue Bay project. When Father Yu heard that the other party still remembered him, a gleam flashed in his eyes and he immediately complimented him, I didn't expect to meet Master Ji Yu here. It's my honor. I'm Yu Jingqian from the Yu Group. I've heard of Master Gu's name for a long time. It's a pleasure to meet you. Ji Yu Jin threw the tissue he used to wipe his hands into the trash can and asked calmly, since we all know each other, we might be able to help each other in business in the future. How do you plan to resolve today's matter? Upon hearing this, Father Yu immediately smiled and said, Mr. Ji Yu is right. We will inevitably have business dealings in the future. As the saying goes, there is no acquaintance without fighting. It is fate that we can meet here because of the child's matter. Don't you agree, Mr. Ji Yu? Fate. Oh, are you starting to curry favor? Before Ji Yu Jin could say anything, Yu's mother started shouting, Yu, are you crazy? Meng Meng can't be beaten for nothing. What do you know, woman? Shut up. Yu's father glared at Yu's mother fiercely and yelled at her. He rubbed his hands, but Master Ji Yu, you saw it too, Mu Ning was really ruthless, he smashed my Meng Meng's head, this is no minor injury. Oh? So what do you want? Ji Yu Jin raised his eyes calmly. Didn't you meet me at the bidding meeting? Are you also interested in the Blue Bay project? It just so happens that our project has run into some troubles and there are some problems with the capital chain. If Mr. Ji Yu is willing to invest. Damn, even the deaf can hear the calculations. Mu Ning couldn't help but complain, he wanted to use this incident to get Ji Yu Jin to invest. I don't know whether to say he is stupid or naive. He actually dared to set his sights on Ji Yu Jin. He didn't even think about whether Ji Yu Jin could have been coerced by him to sit in his current position. Unexpectedly, Ji Yu Jin readily agreed, okay, I just happen to have some funds that I don't know how to use, and I think your project is just right. Mu Ning stared at Ji Yu Jin with wide eyes. Is he crazy? She and Yu Meng were irreconcilable, and he even beat up Yu Meng's wife, and they could still negotiate a cooperation. As expected, businessmen disregard all romantic feelings for the sake of profit. Hey, Master Ji Yu is really insightful. Our project has great prospects, and we are just waiting for a noble person. The matter of the children is just a misunderstanding. I will visit you another day and we can discuss cooperation in detail. Father Yu's face was full of smiles and he hurried to shake hands with Ji Yu Jin. Ji Yu Jin looked at Yu's father who was smiling cunningly, and did not extend his hand, but let Song Heng hand him a business card. He raised his lips and smiled meaningfully, this is my business card. If you want to discuss cooperation, you can call me anytime. Yu's father took the business card and was immersed in joy. But except for him, everyone else looked unhappy. Yu's mother held her breath and dared not vent, seeming still unconvinced. Yu Meng had an embarrassed expression as if she had been slapped in the face, she was also very unconvinced, but her father, in order to take care of the business, smiled from ear to ear, flattered Ji Yu Jin all the time, put her affairs aside, and didn't even remember that she was injured. Lin Shichi, who had been staying out of the matter, had a crazy look in his eyes. On their way back, Mu Ning felt a little depressed. Ji Yu Jin wanted to ask Song Heng to turn around and go to the hospital several times, but he held back. As soon as he got out of the car, Mu Ning slammed the door, ran quickly into their villa and prepared to go upstairs. Stop. Ji Yu Jin called her from behind. Mu Ning seemed not to hear and continued walking forward. Mu Ning, I told you to stop. Chapter 23. Can you stop treating me like a dog? Mu Ning's back stiffened, he clenched his fists, and continued walking upstairs. This was the first time she dared to disobey Ji Yu Jin. She just wanted to see what would happen to Ji Yu Jin if she really left. There was a dull sound of footsteps behind her, approaching her quickly. The next second, Mu Ning's feet left the ground, and she was picked up horizontally by the man and quickly walked towards the living room. Ji Yu Jin, what are you doing? Put me down now. She struggled in the man's arms, and the man's face remained gloomy. R. The man threw her hard onto the sofa, and her petite body bounced up. Fortunately, the sofa was soft, otherwise her butt would have been hurt. Mu Ning glared at the man angrily, and the other man also stared at her with dark eyes. Explain what happened tonight. There was hidden anger in his eyes. Mu Ning turned his face away and said indifferently, "Don't you know everything?" The man pinched her chin and pulled it back, his voice hoarse as if it had been burned by fire. "Mu Ning, before I am willing to listen to you, you'd better tell me the truth about what happened tonight." Looking at the condescending man in front of her, Mu Ning bit her lip and said, I went to find Yu Meng and beat her up. That's all. That's all. The man frowned. Why do you do this? I can't swallow this. I'm asking you why you're so impulsive. Didn't I tell you to stay out of this? Do you want me to watch Shin Ting lying unconscious in the intensive care unit and being slandered? Watch that bitch Yu Meng having fun outside. Mu Ning's eyes flickered and he shook his head. I can't do it, Ji Yujin. I can't be as indifferent as you. As she spoke, she suddenly choked up. The man paused, looked at her eyes which were gradually turning red, his Adam's apple rolled, and he wanted to say something but didn't. He slowly released the hand that was pinching Mu Ning's chin and sat down on the sofa beside him. He said calmly, "So you went to the bar alone to fight with people?" She stared into his eyes confidently and said, "If you don't help me, I will have to go by myself." Is she so impatient? What if you go to a place like that alone and get hurt? Ji Yujin unbuttoned his collar irritably. Mu Ning, it's not that I won't help you. Then why did you let Yu Meng go? You promised to help me, but you didn't do it in the end. Mu Ning looked at him resentfully. Of course I don't blame you. After all, you have already put in some effort to save me, which can be considered as helping me. But I will not let Yu Meng go. She must pay the price she deserves. Humph, you think you are so smart, you think you are very capable. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you really beat someone to death? Mu Ning heard the sarcasm in his words, clenched his fists, and said calmly, she died, that's what she deserved. Ji Yujin felt inexplicably uncomfortable after hearing this, and his tone became heavy. Can you live if she dies? Do you have any brains at all? If Mu Ning had attacked more forcefully tonight, or accidentally killed Yu Meng, what would have been the consequences? Although he could help her get rid of the crime and clear her criminal record, it would just be a little troublesome, but he didn't want Mu Ning to bear the consequences of a life. Mu Ning looked at Ji Yujin coldly. Don't people like Yu Meng deserve to die? Her indifferent look made her look like a wolf cub without any humanity who only knew how to drink blood and eat meat, which made Ji Yujin feel particularly irritated. Seeing him silent, Mu Ning sneered, Uncle Jiu, do you think that we were the ones who damaged Linchich's brake pads, and that we deserved it for Yu Meng hitting us? Ji Yujin frowned. Mu Ning, you are a person of status now, not an unattended stray dog in the stinking ditch. Mu Ning had no ID card, no household registration, and no birth certificate since she was born. It was Ji Yujin who gave her a new identity so that she could live in this city with integrity. The place where she lived before was poor, dirty, chaotic, and full of rape and looting. Even if someone died, only some gossip would spread, which would soon be overshadowed by the hardships brought by poverty. It is indeed different now. But Ji Yujin's words pierced Mu Ning's heart deeply. Yeah, if Uncle Jiu hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten that I came from that stinky ditch. How could I bring trouble to the Jiu family? Besides, we are in a society ruled by law now. How could I be so ignorant of life and death? Ji Yujin narrowed his eyes. Ning, are you being sarcastic to me? I'm telling the truth, Uncle Jiu. I can handle my own problems. Please don't bother me anymore. Do you dare to say that again? Ji Yujin's eyes looked a little scary. Mu Ning sniffed. Isn't it? You've been in charge of everything since I was a kid. Do you really think of yourself as my real dad? I've had enough of you, Ji Yujin. I'm a person, not a dog you raise. You don't have to treat me like your private pet. She deliberately said those angry words, not daring to look into Ji Yujin's eyes. I hit Yu Meng, she bumped into me first, what's wrong with me hitting her? What right do you have to teach me a lesson? Songheng, who had been silent all this time, took a deep breath. Auntie, please calm down. Don't you know what you should and shouldn't say? He winked at Mu Ning secretly, but Mu Ning didn't see it at all. or if he did, he didn't want to pay attention. He secretly glanced at Ji Yujin again. His expression was extremely ugly, and there seemed to be anger dancing between his eyebrows. In this whole world, only Miss Mu dares to speak to Mr. Ji like this. The veins on Ji Yujin's forehead were throbbing. He raised his hand and held it in. He closed his eyes, then spoke slowly, word by word. I've been away from home for half a year, and you've become so naughty? If I hadn't been soft-hearted and picked you up back then, I would have been relieved. Today is really not a good time to have a conversation, with so many sharp and hurtful words coming out. Whether it is Mu Ning or Ji Yujin, it is simply outrageous. Sure enough, Mu Ning looked up in astonishment, staring with a pair of big eyes. What did you say? I say, starting tomorrow, stay at home and don't go anywhere, so as to avoid going out and getting into trouble. Ji Yujin took out a cigarette from the cigarette box and ordered coldly. Mu Ning bit his lip stubbornly. No, it's the previous sentence. Ji Yujin was impatient. Starting tomorrow, you are not allowed to go out. If you don't obey me, go back to your stinking ditch. Mu Ning trembled all over and froze in place. Over the years, since she came into this family, no matter what happened or what she did wrong, Ji Yujin never told her to get out. Because there is no home for her there anymore. Ji Yujin is a person who cares the most about his manners. Even if someone annoys him and he wants to kill their whole family, he will remain calm and elegant on the surface. At this moment, he is so impatient and irritable, which shows that he is really angry this time. After a long while, she whispered, really? Chapter 24. Miss Mu is missing. Ji Yujin was smoking heavily and didn't go to see her because he knew that as soon as he saw her aggrieved and pitiful look, he would feel soft-hearted. Mu Ning was already in tears. She pinched her palms and tried to keep her tone steady. Ji Yujin, if you were just saying that in anger, I can ask you to take back what you just said. She bit her lip and stared at him. The man lowered his head and smoked one cigarette after another. Mu Ning, do you think I'm joking with you? He just said gloomily, I never take back what I said. If you act on your own and cause trouble for me again, pack up and get out. Mu Ning's chest suddenly felt clenched. Because of what happened tonight, Ji Yujin actually asked her to get out. She took a deep breath. It was like the time when she heard that Lu Shinting was dying. She couldn't breathe. Mu Ning wiped her eyes and forced back the tears that were about to burst out. Without saying another word, she turned around and went back to her room. Hearing the door closing, Ji Yujin raised his head and looked upwards. Mr. Ji, isn't this a bit too much? Miss Mu Ning looks very sad. Song Heng reminded. Ji Yujin took a deep puff of cigarette, his voice muffled. Let her be, let her remember this lesson. He has only been away from home for half a year and she has become so naughty. If she continues like this, there is no telling what this girl will become. I feel like I'm losing control. He pressed his cigarette into the ashtray irritably and said in a deep voice, prepare a dirty account and sign the contract with you tomorrow. Song Heng probably guessed what Ji Yujin wanted to do, and hesitated. Won't Yu Jingqian find out? I will certainly find a way to make him believe it. The handsome face behind the smoke raised his lips strangely. Yes, Master Ji. After Mu Ning returned to the room, he began to pack up. There were too many things to fit in one suitcase, so she took out the useless things. Even if I never go back to that damn place, I won't be able to use many things there. Forget it. I don't even have a home, what's the point of having these? In the end, she only packed a few clothes and necessities, and waited until late at night before dragging her suitcase out of the villa. She stood at the door of the villa and looked back for the last time. She will have nothing to do with Ji Yujin anymore. One's surname is Ji and the other's surname is Mu, so there is no connection between them. On the streets of the city, the wind was still a little chilly late at night. Mu Ning didn't know where to go for a moment. She couldn't go back to her hometown because she had no relatives there. Ever since she was taken in by Ji Yujin, the Jiu family had been her home and she had never been back. After struggling for half a night, I finally stayed in a hotel temporarily. Mu Ning was very fond of his bed and had a very bad sleep that night. The next morning, she got up early and went to the hospital. Lu Shinting has been released from the intensive care unit and moved into the general ward. But she hadn't woken up yet. She lay there quietly, her face as pale as a porcelain doll. Mu Ning moved a chair over, lay on the bed, held Lu Xinting's hand and said to himself, Xinting, I avenged you. I beat you Meng, but it was a pity that I didn't seriously injure her. Because of this, Jiyu Jin and I had a big fight. I felt like I didn't even know Jiyu Jin anymore. Although he wasn't particularly nice to me before, he had never treated me like this. Jiyu Jin is really annoying. I hate him so much. I can never forgive him. She kept on talking, and at the end she couldn't help choking up. Xinting, Jiyu Jin doesn't want me anymore. He kicked me out. You are all I have. When will you wake up? She stayed in the hospital for the whole morning and told Lu Xinting everything that had happened in the past few days. Only after she poured out her grievances did she feel a little better. Xinting, next time I come to see you, can you wake up? The girl on the hospital bed did not respond. Mu Ning lowered his eyes in disappointment and carefully put her hand back into the quilt. He gave her one last worried look, then stood up and left. When the door of the ward was slowly closed, Lu Xinting's hand moved. When Jiyu Jin went out in the morning, Mu Ning's door was still closed. I always feel uneasy during the morning meeting, as if something is about to slip away from my hands. Coming out of the conference room, Song Heng handed over his phone, Mr. Jiyu, the number at the villa. Jiyu Jin took a look and thought it was Mu Ning calling, so he raised his hand and answered the call. This girl called her on her own initiative. Does she know she was wrong? He raised his lips, his tone still a little stiff. Breakfast is on the table, go eat it when you get up. Before he could finish his words, a middle-aged female voice interrupted him anxiously, Master Jiyu, Miss Mu Ning is missing. It was Aunt Zhang who had just returned from vacation. She had just arrived at the villa this morning and happened to meet Jiyu Jin, who was dressed neatly, coming down the stairs. Mr. Jiyu specifically reminded her that Mu Ning was still resting and not to disturb her sleep, and to heat up breakfast for her again when she woke up. But it was almost noon and Mu Ning still hadn't moved. Aunt Zhang knocked on the door but no one answered. She opened the door curiously and found girls' clothes and things scattered all over the bed and the floor. The suitcase was missing. She immediately had a bad feeling and hurriedly called Jiyu Jin. The phone was dead silent and no sound was heard for a long time. Aunt Zhang called out twice cautiously. Master Jiyu. Mr. Jiyu. Jiyu Jin held the phone, his expression frozen on his handsome face. He didn't react for a long time. He stood there for a long time before gritting his teeth and saying, Song Heng, take me back. Along the way, Jiyu Jin's face was frighteningly gloomy. Song Heng didn't dare to delay and drove very fast. When they arrived at the gate of the villa, before the car had even stopped, Jiyu Jin got out of the car and forgot to close the door. The villa was quiet, no longer the clacking sound of slippers, and the petite figure came out to greet him. Sir, Miss Mu Ning only took away a few pieces of clothes and daily necessities. Aunt Zhang followed him tremblingly. Jiyu Jin went upstairs with a sullen face. The door of the room was open and he strode in. There was a faint fragrance wafting from the girl's boudoir. The bed was covered with goose-yellow sheets and quilts, and clothes, bags, and cosmetics were scattered all over the bed, making it a mess. Everything was still there, except for Mu Ning. Jiyu Jin's heart suddenly collapsed, and he yelled uncontrollably, find him now. Yes. Song Heng hurried down to give orders, but he couldn't help sighing in his heart. Oh, if I had known this would happen, why would I do this? In the hospital, Lu Xinting, who had just woken up, was undergoing a comprehensive physical examination. She woke up after Mu Ning left in the morning. She wanted to continue sleeping, but the girl was too noisy and cried so hard that she woke up. After the examination, I returned to the ward and just lay down when I heard a series of footsteps at the door. Feeling a dangerous aura approaching, Lu Xinting's eyelids jumped. How is Miss Lu's condition? The man and the doctor in a white coat walked in together and asked as he walked, without even looking at her. Lu Xinting looked at the man in surprise and opened her mouth slightly. How come he comes? He shouldn't be here. Chapter 25. Could this be Jiyu Jin's confession? The examination results show that there is nothing serious. You can be discharged from the hospital after a few days of observation. The man nodded and asked his men to send the doctor out. Mr. Jiyu, I'm not familiar with you, right? Don't you care about the life and death of outsiders? Lu Xinting glanced at Jiyu Jin and said sarcastically. While she was asleep, she heard everything Mu Ning said. What do you mean Ji Yujin doesn't just clean up other people's messes and doesn't care about the lives of outsiders? In short, her life or death has nothing to do with Ji Yujin, and he is unwilling to help. Did Ning Ning tell you this? Humph, who else would there be? Ji Yujin didn't explain. He raised his eyebrows, looked down at Lu Shinting, and raised his lips to state, she has been here. What does it have to do with you, Master Ji Yu? You don't care about her. You abandoned her for half a year before, and you couldn't stand her when you came back. She was bullied at school, and you didn't help her, but how could you hurt her feelings? Ji Yujin's voice lowered, she cried. You do understand her. Lu Shinting snorted. Ji Yujin frowned. Lu Shinting glanced at him, then realized what was going on and smiled sarcastically, so you're here to look for someone. She shrugged, you see, Ning Ning is not here with me. I know. You knew about this but still came. She didn't know why he came, but it was definitely not possible that he came to visit her. Ji Yujin pulled a chair and sat down. There were several chairs in the ward, but by coincidence, he took the one that Mu Ning sat on in the morning. TSK, Lu Shinting thought to herself that these two people had such a good understanding of each other, and stared at him calmly. The black suit on Ji Yujin not only exudes a mysterious and ascetic air, but also a kind of elegance and nobility engraved in his bones. He also stared straight at Lu Shinting, his face slightly pale, expressionless, his gloomy brows sunken, looking a little scary. Lu Shinting felt uneasy when she was being stared at, and her hands curled up subconsciously under the quilt. What a sin, how could Mu Ning have such parents? They could actually stay in the same room for so many years. If it were her, she probably wouldn't be able to stay there for even a minute. Ahem. She straightened her back, Mr. Ji Yu. Miss Lu, if you have any requests, please feel free to ask. He said calmly. Lu Shinting paused, what does Master Ji Yu mean? Literally. Looking at the man's serious expression, she took a deep breath and said word by word, my only request is, can you be nicer to Ning Ning? Hearing this, Ji Yujin sat up straight and leaned back in his chair, I don't need you to remind me of this. Then what do you want from me? Just tell me straight away. There's no need to beat around the bush. Ji Yujin said in a gloomy tone, she ran away from home. Huh. Lu Shinting raised her eyebrows and said sarcastically, didn't you drive them out? Song Heng just happened to hear this when he walked in, and thought that what Miss Mu's friend said was really unpleasant. What does it mean to be driven out by Master Ji Yu? If Mr. Ji Yu intended to drive Miss Mu away, would he still lower himself to come here to see her? Ji Yujin didn't seem very angry. He glanced at Lu Shinting indifferently, and she felt a chill down her spine instantly. That girl Ning Ning doesn't know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is. After I gave her a lecture, she got mad at me and packed up her things and left overnight. Oh, what does it have to do with me? Miss Lu, are you sure Ning Ning is out there alone? Why does she worry about Mu Ning? Lu Shinting laughed angrily, you came here because you want me to persuade Ning Ning to go back. You have a big mouth, why don't you go find her yourself? After the taunting, Lu Shinting realized that she had said the wrong thing. She immediately covered her mouth and looked at the man nervously. Did she just not know how to live or die? She actually dared to talk to Ji Yujin like that. Fortunately, Ji Yujin's expression did not change. Perhaps because of Mu Ning, he did not argue with her. She was about to make amends when Ji Yujin slowly spoke, that girl is stubborn. If I could persuade her, she wouldn't come to you. From what Mu Ning had described to her in the past, even if Ji Yujin knew he was wrong, he would never admit it. Now, just to persuade Mu Ning to go home, he has even put aside his noble status and come here in person. Lu Shinting was still thinking, and continued in a low voice, she is still too young. If she makes a mistake due to impulse, it will have a huge impact on her in the future. I can't just leave it alone. Why do these words sound so nice coming from Ji Yujin's mouth? He wasn't as bad as Mu Ning said, and it seemed that he cared about her quite a bit. Lu Shinting's feeling of grievance for Mu Ning gradually faded away, and she said seriously, Master Ji Yu, in fact, you misunderstood Ning Ning in this matter. Ning Ning was bullied a lot at school by Lin Chichi. Not to mention that she stole Ning Ning's battery and made her go home in the rain, she then showed off maliciously on WeChat moments, which was infuriating enough. In fact, we didn't cut Lin Chichi's brake pads. We did want to scratch her car at first. Who was she who bullied us first? But we were discovered before we even started. Later on the way, we ran into Lin Chichi. You might say it was a coincidence, but she did it on purpose. Lin Chichi and Yu Meng ridiculed us, mocking Ning Ning for being a country bumpkin who rode an electric donkey and didn't even have a decent car. Lu Shinting added fuel to the fire, and her words became more and more exaggerated, making them as unpleasant as possible. Ning Ning was so angry that she pulled Yu Meng's hair. Then we were hit. They turned around and spread rumors online to frame us. After she finished speaking, she glanced at Ji Yujin. He closed his eyes and his handsome face was still pale. Although no clues could be seen from his face, the aura emanating from his body made it seem as if he was going to slaughter someone's ancestors for 18 generations. That's right, this is the effect we want. Master Ji Ning is not as bad as you think. She was just angry and wanted to vent her anger for me. She was a little impulsive. Please don't blame her. But Ji Yujin uttered 3 words lightly from his thin lips, I know. You know. Lu Xinting's eyes widened. You know, then you still. I have my own way of dealing with it. Ji Yujin opened his eyes, and his voice was hoarse and heavy after he had controlled himself. I don't want her to be involved in these disputes, and I don't want her to have hatred. I will deal with all of this. The reason I don't let her take revenge is to protect her. You don't know Ning Ning's past. Her life should be happy and carefree. This is what I have been working hard to do. Lu Shinting was so shocked that she was speechless. Why does this sound like a confession? It's not what Mu Ning called the cold-eyed indifference and callousness at all, this is the deep and meticulous love from the old man. If the target was not her, she would have been so moved that she would have cried. Where did that silly girl Mu Ning get such good parents? She was really a little envious. But she understood what was the use, Ning Ning didn't understand. Lu Shinting thought for a moment and said, Master Ji I understand what you are saying, but please forgive me for being blunt. We are all girls, especially Ning Ning, who is just a little girl who has not grown up. Girls sometimes need more direct love and care. It's very simple. When they are bullied, someone just stands behind them, chooses to believe in them unconditionally, and is their strong backer. Chapter 26 I don't like people like you. Coming out of the hospital. Ji Yujin remained silent. He was wondering if the way he had been handling things was wrong. Just like Lu Shinting said, she likes it more direct. After thinking to no avail, Ji Yujin closed the car window when he was almost there, and turned to look forward. Songhang, do you think I did something wrong? Songhang was surprised and thought, how could Mr. Ji be wrong? No. Master Ji you are doing this for Miss Mu Ning's own good. Ji Yujin frowned in annoyance, tell the truth. Songhang was startled and chose his words carefully, Master Ji girls seem to prefer to be more direct sometimes. And they also like you to stand on her side without any reason, no matter whether she is right or wrong. Ji Yujin looked up and glanced at Songhang in the rearview mirror. Songhang shut up and drove obediently. Even you understand. If Songhang hadn't heard the low voice mumbling to himself, he would have never believed it. Is Master Ji reflecting on himself? No way. Ji Yujin leaned back in the back seat with a cold and dignified look, twirled his fingers slightly, and raised his lips helplessly. It's still this child after all. Then, let her do as she wishes. Late at night. After a life of debauchery, the gorgeously dressed Lin Chichi walked out of the bar with Yu Meng, twisting her slender waist. The two of them got into Lin Chichi's car in a swagger. It feels so good. I can't help laughing when I think of the ugly look of that bitch Mu Ning. Yu Meng drank some wine, and the unpleasantness of being beaten was swept away, and he felt much better. How stupid. He dares to come to you for revenge alone. He doesn't even know his own weight. Lin Chichi also drank a lot and echoed Yu Meng. The two men drove on the road, mocking Mu Ning as they drove. And that Lu Shinting is also an idiot. She's probably still in the hospital. If I had known, I should have driven faster and hit them both to death, once and for all. Who wouldn't want to? To be honest, this is Meng Meng's masterpiece. Meng Meng is so amazing. Lin Chichi did not forget to praise Yu Meng. Yu Meng was greatly encouraged and stopped being shy. I've disliked them for a long time. That bitch Mu Ning is also an idiot. She came to me alone to seek revenge. If I catch her next time, I'll have someone rape her. But. But what? But what is the relationship between Mu Ning and that Gu Jin? If Gu Jin hadn't come that day, Mu Ning would have been in jail long ago. When Gu Jin was mentioned, Lin Chichi's heart was filled with emotion. She had drunk some wine and her cheeks were flushed. If it hadn't been for the darkness of the night, one would have probably seen that her ears were red. Don't worry, Meng Meng, no matter what the relationship is, I will help you deal with Gu Jin. Chichi, you're so nice to me. Yu Meng was deeply moved. How can someone like Mu Ning be worthy of Gu Jin? With her looks, you completely crush her. Compared to you, she's just a clown. Lin Chichi was very happy to hear this. Then I will really make her a clown. Har 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 har. The two of them became more and more excited as they talked, laughing wildly. With a bang. R. In the darkness, a car suddenly appeared out of nowhere and hit Lin Chichi's car. The two of them stopped laughing and screamed wildly in fear. Lin Chichi gripped the steering wheel tightly and managed to keep it steady. Which blind bastard wrecked her new car? Just as she was about to explode, there was another bang. R. The car hit next, this time with more force. Lin Chichi was in a panic and quickly stepped on the accelerator to avoid the collision. However, the car behind was chasing relentlessly and squeezed Lin Chichi's car onto the curb. R. Help. Stop it now. None of them were wearing seat belts, and with each impact, their bones were almost broken in the car. The car completely lost control and finally crashed into a tree and came to a stop. Yu Meng's head was bleeding again, and his face was full of pain. Lin Chichi was covered in wounds and his hair was disheveled. The two of them climbed down from their seats one after the other. Seeing that her car was deformed, Lin Chichi angrily shouted at the SUV, "How dare you hit my car? Do you know how expensive my car is? Can you afford the compensation if it is damaged?" Yu Meng also covered his head and roared angrily, "I'll call my dad right now and ask him to bring someone over." Before the call was made, the rear door of the car opened with a swish and four ferocious-looking men jumped out. They were holding iron bars, and Lin Chichi stepped back subconsciously. "You, what do you want to do?" Bang! Several men swung iron bars and smashed at Lin Chichi's car. R. Stop it now. Lin Chichi excitedly stepped forward to stop him, but was pushed away by the man and fell to the ground. The broken glass pierced her knees and she turned pale with pain. By the time she had the strength to get up, her beloved car had been smashed into a pile of rubble. Lin Chichi's eyes instantly turned red. "You bunch of hooligans. How dare you smash my car? I'll call the police and shoot you all one by one." Hearing this, the four men stopped and walked over to surround them. "Call the police? Then go ahead and see if you can survive until the police come." The leading man poked her in the back with an iron rod. She staggered and her cell phone fell to the ground. The man raised his foot and crushed it. "She fell into our hands and dared to call the police. This woman is really out of her mind." Har 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 har. "What do you want to do? If you want money, I can give it to you." Money? Har, don't use money to humiliate me. Then what do you want? Lin Chichi covered her chest tightly, thinking that the other party wanted to rape her. The man sneered, "What's there to hide? I don't even look down on people like you." Lin Chichi felt humiliated and gritted her teeth. "Then why don't you let us go? Want to leave? Tie them up for me." Yu Meng, who was so scared that she collapsed on the ground, screamed and was also caught and tied together with Lin Chichi. They were dragged into a car and taken to a mountain. When the car stopped, they were pushed out again, with a cliff behind them. What are you doing?" The two men were covered in dust and looked at the four ferocious men with vigilance. With a swish, the man took out a knife, and the sharp dagger gleamed coldly in the moonlight. "Tell me, what exactly is shearing the brakes about?" Lin Chichi shuddered, knowing that these people came for Mu Ning's matter. She didn't expect Mu Ning to have this skill. She gritted her teeth and pretended to be innocent. "I don't know what happened. I have told the police everything I need to say. You can just go and ask them." Yu Meng also echoed in panic, "Yes, we know nothing. If you want to ask, go find the police. You won't tell me, right?" The man grinned, picked up the gleaming dagger and slapped it on Lin Chichi's face, then slid the dagger down Lin Chichi's face to her neck. "TSK, if I cut a hole here, will blood spurt out? Chapter 27. If you don't tell the truth, I'll chop off your hand." Lin Chichi's whole body tensed up, her hair stood on end, knowing that if she told everything, it would be over. It's useless to force me. I have evidence. It was all done by Mu Ning. Really? The man laughed grimly, and the blade immediately cut a hole on Lin Chichi's face. If you don't tell the truth, the next knife will be on your neck. Lin Chichi grimaced in pain. You won't say anything either, the man pointed the knife at Yu Meng. Yu Meng shook her head in horror. Don't ask me, I know nothing. Heh. The man spread Yu Meng's palm and pressed it to the ground, with the knife inserted between two fingers. Then you choose one. Yu Meng was so scared that she was shaking like a sieve. I really don't know, The man exerted force and cut off Yu Meng's little finger. Ah! Yu Meng's face was twisted in pain. Lin Chichi widened her eyes in horror and saw that Yu Meng's little finger was covered in blood. The four men laughed, their eyes full of mockery. Crazy, these people are all crazy. I'll give you one more chance. If you don't tell me once, I'll cut off one of your fingers. If you don't tell me twice, I'll cut off two. The man said, holding the knife, and was about to cut her ring finger again. Yu Meng knelt on the ground with a pale face, gasping for breath. Why me? Don't you know who you've hurt? Your hands are dirty, so they should be chopped off. The man suddenly shouted, will you tell me or not? Speak, I'll tell you, as long as you don't chop off my hands, I'll tell you anything. Lin Chichi's face darkened and she reminded him softly, Yu Meng, you. A shiny knife slapped Lin Chichi's mouth. Shut the fuck up. If you say anything more, I'll cut off your tongue. Lin Chichi's face turned red and she could only warn Yu Meng with her eyes. Hurry up and tell me. Yu Meng was already scared to death, and ignored Lin Chichi's warnings, telling the whole story in a halting manner. I really don't know what happened to the brakes. When Mu Ning and Lu Shinting were caught by the security guards, the brakes were still working fine. If you don't believe me, you can ask Chichi. Lin Chichi gritted her teeth. She was almost angry to death. Yu Meng was such an idiot. Did you break the brakes yourself? Song Heng got out of the car with his cell phone in his hand. When Lin Chichi saw Song Heng recording the video with his mobile phone, he immediately lowered his head and said, how should I know? I only know that they went around my car and my brakes were cut off. You're not telling the truth, are you? Song Heng's eyes became fierce. Cut off her hand for me. No. Don't chop my hand. Yu Meng couldn't stand the shock and confessed in a few seconds, yes. We did it. Please, don't chop my hand. Song Heng raised his lips. So? You provided false evidence. I don't know. I was terrified at the time. It was Chichi who provided the police with evidence. In order to save his fingers, Yu Meng directed the fire towards Lin Chichi. Lin Chichi's gums were almost broken by biting them. Yu Meng, how can you slander me? It was you who hit someone, and you asked me what to do. If I hadn't helped you think of this solution because we are sisters, you would probably have been in jail. How can you still put the blame on me? Since Yu Meng dared to provoke her, she might as well go all out. Yu Meng was furious after Mu Ning pulled her hair. When she drove my car to hit Mu Ning and the others, I was still standing by and trying to dissuade her. Who knew that she was so possessed at that time that she just wanted to hit Mu Ning and Lu Shinting to death? Lin Chichi put all the blame on Yu Meng, and she was forced to get involved in this dispute in order to stand up for her good friend. Yu Meng borrowed my car to hit someone. I am innocent and this matter has nothing to do with me. Let me go quickly. Chichi, how can you only care about yourself? Don't you want Mu Ning to die? You actually said that this matter has nothing to do with you. That's enough. Song Heng had no interest in watching the two of them fighting each other. So he got what he wanted and turned off his phone. Several men then got in the car. Are you leaving now? Lin Chichi shouted anxiously. No. Let me go first. Yu Meng also reacted. I've told you everything I know, please let me go. The two men were tied up and struggled constantly, twisting on the ground like two pitiful worms. Song Heng took a few more photos of the two of them. The night view here is quite nice, you can enjoy it. However, there are often snakes and rats here at night. I wish you good luck. After saying this, Song Heng turned around and drove away. Song Heng drove the car to the foot of the mountain, got out of the car, and walked towards the black Bentley parked on the side of the road. The car window was half lowered, and a cold hand was holding a cigarette, which was burning slowly in the darkness. Did you get everything? Song Heng nodded. They have confessed everything. What should we do next? A deep voice came from the car. Throw them in jail and let them suffer a little. Yes. The next morning. Boom boom boom. There were 3 polite knocks on the door. Ning didn't sleep well last night. He finally felt sleepy at around 4 or 5 in the morning, but before he really fell asleep, he was woken up by the knocks on the door. Who's knocking on the door so early in the morning? Room service wouldn't arrive so early, and she didn't order takeout, so it must be a wrong number. The man outside the door stood for a while, and seeing no movement, he raised his hand and knocked again. Ning frowned in annoyance, threw back the quilt, and walked to the door. As he opened the door, he muttered impatiently, "Who is it?" "Ms. Ning, it's me." Seeing the tall man at the door, Ning's face immediately fell. "What are you doing here?" Ning's long hair was messy, his eyebrows were pinched, and his face looked very irritable. Everyone told him it was too early, but Mr. Gu wouldn't listen. He disturbed other people's sleep. It would be strange if he wasn't annoyed. This little ancestor is grumpy when he wakes up, and Master Gu knows it better than him. On Master Gu's orders, take Miss Ning back. No need. I'm fine here. Ning was about to close the door, but then he remembered. Tell Gu Jin that if he doesn't want the things I left in the villa, just throw them away. I'll still let him know, after all, I bought them with his money. Song Heng didn't react. Thank you, I won't see you off. With a bang, Ning slammed the door. Song Heng touched his nose, feeling extremely helpless, and turned around to report. The car stopped downstairs of the hotel. The man in the back seat was wearing an expensive black suit and leaning back in the chair with his eyes closed. Without Ning, the villa was very quiet, but he was not used to it and always felt like something was missing. Song Heng didn't get in the car. He knocked on the car window. The glass of the back seat rolled down, and then he heard Song Heng repeat his original words. Miss Ning said she won't go back. It's good to live here. Jiu Jin raised his hand and pinched his aching brow. Song Heng had been there for so long that he had expected this result. But after hearing Song Heng's retelling, the headache that had caused him to not sleep all night came back. Miss Mu also said. Jiu Jin glanced at Song Heng and asked, "What did you say?" Song Heng gritted his teeth and said, "She said that if you don't want the things she didn't take away, just throw them away. She also said that after all, you bought them with your own money."